Hey guys, welcome to the Smokers Lounge. It's your boy Il Doc.
It's your boy Blurbs.
And we just like to thank everyone who's been listening so far. It means the world.
And if you could spare the time to like, rate and subscribe, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Much love.
Peace.
I just end up having Billy's every time beforehand and just have to force myself to conversate. Not that I don't want to, but it's like I'll be sitting here just zoning out sometimes.
I can't do it, eh? Like, I think when we first started, a couple times I was like, I smoked. And then I was just fucked, man. I just found it like, because if he was smoking, then, and I was smoking, no one was like taking shit, you know what I mean? So
no one was taking control.
Yeah, we'd both just end up fucking just in silence. So I was like, nah, fuck it. You can do the smoking. I'll do the fucking talking.
Great.
But, yeah.
There's Red Bulls in the fridge as well if you want a drink or something.
No, I've got my water. I'm trying to keep my stomach clean for the day.
Yeah.
Because I got like irritable bowel syndrome.
Oh, real?
It's
So
fucked up.
So what's the go with that?
I don't really know,
In terms of like,
to be honest.
oh, real? Is that like something that's only just came on, or?
No, it's are we on?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've started as well.
Oh, see, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Unless
sorry,
you
I don't know if
want
we
to talk about them.
No, I don't give a fuck. I was just like, man, we can talk about interesting shit and then buy some time. No, it's like I haven't even really met you guys yet, but I'll go into the deep shit.
Well, that could be the first thing you tell us about.
Well, man, I suffer with depression a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is like fucking not here or there, like everyone does. But and I've realized that's also like I got diagnosed with chronic fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And when I eat shit, I fucking feel shit, and it's all tied together.
Yeah.
So stomach, fucking mind, anxiety. I got mad anxiety,
Yeah.
like all that shit. And so I've been trying to just sort shit out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the last 2 weeks, I got a new job. So I work full time as well as rap. I work in music.
Yeah.
And it's been hectic. And then my fucking diet's gone out. I feel like shit.
Yeah, work will do that to you.
Dude, 100%. And then obviously all this shit going on, and I'm just like, fuck, man. I need to. I'm not a fucking like cleanser. Like I don't want to. Like I'm just do it. Yeah, I'm not like flat tummy tea or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I do feel as though if you control your own body, you know what's going in, you know what's going out.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, you know what? I woke up this morning, I go to the beach in the mornings and shit, trying to like ease the anxiety and shit, go to the water. And then today I was like, I haven't eaten, and it was like 8:30, and I was like, and I've been like fucking, my bowels are shit. Yeah, so IBS is like an offcut of like anxiety, depression, all that shit, and you just like get a bad stomach when you eat the wrong things, or if you're stressed, eat the wrong, like you get a bad stomach. And I get it. I've had it all the time for like the last like couple months. So I'm like, fuck, something's wrong. So I was like, I'm just not going to eat today and let my body figure itself out. And funnily enough, it makes you feel like you can feel the difference. Like, yeah, I'm struggling, I'm a bit hungry, I'm a bit delusional a little bit, like getting a headache, but that shit's all fucking like because you're addicted to sugar.
Yeah.
Because you fucking
shit, man.
like all those extra things that you think like you need. It's actually your body just controlled by everything external. Yeah. And you're just like,
100%.
fuck.
I've always been a pretty firm believer of that shit. I've just never been like had the willpower to act on it.
Bro, that's the same as
Maybe
me.
I did for like a 3-month period out of the 28 years I've been alive, but it just never happens. But yeah, it all makes perfect sense. I mean, everything has sugar in it.
Oh, I mean, it's like the most addictive thing in the world, basically. And just people don't. I mean, there obviously are people out there that know this, and that's why they, become vegan or vegetarian and all that sort of stuff and cut out all that sort of shit. But I think like what you're saying of having that sort of control over, what's going in, that sort of thing gives you that kind of peace of mind. Well, it gives you like a bit of a peace of mind to know what's in your fucking body.
Well, it's just
I feel like I have a terrible diet. Like I'm fucking a big cunt, and I've got a terrible diet. And the worst thing about it all is that I know that I have a terrible diet, and I'll fucking wake up, fucking 4 times out of the 7 days in the week, you know, every morning, and I'll be like, fuck, man, like I need to lose weight. I got to do something about it. But the actual doing something about it, I just can't. I don't know. Like I went through a stage with him, like we said, I used to live here as well, and I was probably here for maybe like a year and a half, and he was going to the gym, and then I just came out of a breakup, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, this is the time to do it. So I started
always
going
the time to do it.
Yeah,
You
best
always go back to
motivation for anything.
no shit. So I started going to the gym as well, and during that time, I did like the whole calorie counting thing. I tried other stuff before. I tried like keto. I tried like vegetarian sort of diet with my ex at the time. And keto, I don't know if you've ever done keto, but
Never tried it.
Fucking, do you know much about it? Like,
Man, I've had a few mates try it.
Yeah.
And I've been like on the fence about whether or not I should try it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about any diets. I just fucking,
It's just like
A lot of
pretty
them
much
seem to be like real extreme.
Yeah, well, that's
and I'm sort of for the again. I don't know. I'm not a fucking doctor or a scientist or a nutritionist, but I always feel like it's that same thing with anything. Little doses, you know.
Yeah.
Little bit of everything is good for you.
Well, that's why I couldn't do it,
black tar
because
heroin every now and then is good for you. You have a lot, you're going to be hooked, and then you're fucked.
Exactly.
that's why I couldn't do it, because it was like I went from just eating shit and enjoying pizzas and pies and shit like that to having to cut out all my carbs.
Man, that extreme measure is
like
so hard.
No, no sugar, no carbs, no like saturated fats. It's all natural fats. So at the time, I was like, oh, it's not too bad. I can just fucking eat eggs and bacon every morning. Or like I can still have cheese and I can still have cream in my coffee and shit like that. But then when you go in 2 weeks...
Do you cream in your coffee?
Nah, I just use milk.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why'd you say cream in your coffee then?
Oh, because you can't have like... you can't have saturated fat, so it cuts out milk.
So you did have cream in your
Oh,
coffee?
yeah. No, I did. Yeah.
Man, cream in your coffee is the best thing ever, man. I'd do that every day if I could.
I don't know, man. Like, I liked it. But there was just something about it. Like, I don't know.
Long black with a splash of cream? 2 sugars, long black, splash of cream.
I got real into my ice Americanos at one point. Just like straight black.
Yeah,
straight black
I do
coffee.
that now.
Yeah.
To dodge dairy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted, but...
But no, it was just like having to cut it all out. And I was like, I can still eat bacon, eggs, all that sort of shit. But then when you're doing it every day for 2 weeks or whatever you're doing it for, however long you're doing it for, and all you're having is meat and like cheese and cream, it's like it just got so hard, man. And you'd be surprised as well. I also thought, I kind of looked at it at the start thinking, I can still have fruits, still have vegetables, but if you're going strict keto, half of the fruits have got sugars in them, so that cuts them out, and half of the vegetables, obviously we know that like potatoes are full of carbs, but half of like pretty much most of the vegetables that you would say, I'll put that in a salad, you can't have. Yeah. Because they're just full of fucking carbs.
Yeah, totally.
And it was like, man, it just got so hard. It got so hard for 2 weeks. And I was just like eating fucking like omelets every day, but like just egg, like nothing else in them, no veggies, nothing. And I was like, this is fucking bullshit. I can't do it. And I ended up just caving in and went and bought a pie.
But that's the thing, bro, is like... Because you went from... you did a really good job. You had 2 weeks of fucking not eating fucking anything.
Yeah.
But that's probably like overly extreme. So you've just pushed yourself to the absolute boundaries of your body so quickly that of course you're going to cave.
Yeah.
It's not your fault you caved. It's our expectations of ourselves that we cave.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
100%.
It's like instead of going from what you normally eat to a more healthier balance, you go, I'm going to cut out all the flavour as well. And all
I'm
the
just going to
shit
cut out
that
fun.
gives it its zest. So now you're just eating a couple of eggs scrambled together.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing to flavour it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's...
You'd suffer because you don't like cheese.
I'd suffer because I don't have a very big palate. Like, I don't eat,
Yeah.
Just for whatever reason, I've always had sort of a... You know.
But back to the gym thing, like, during that time... I tried doing the calorie counting. Yeah. So, and I actually stood by it and did it for probably a solid month and a half, 2 months, and lost I probably lost like 10 kilos. Yeah, and in this time was like the best I've felt. We played basketball on a Thursday night, and like the difference in that 2 month period from like, before that struggling to fucking run around for 40 minutes without like fucking my lungs caving in, to like actually being able to run around for 40 minutes and still feel like I had the energy to keep going.
Yeah.
It was fucking nuts, man. And I felt that was probably the best I've felt in a long time. But then got into a relationship, got fucking comfortable, and it all just went out the window.
It's the thing about humans as well, is like, you can do it. You've done it before. You know what it takes to do it. You know it makes you feel good, and there's no reason you shouldn't, but you just still won't do it.
Yeah.
It's...
Man, that's what I was thinking about this morning. So, like, I've never done anything like this before. When I was on tour, like I just went on tour late last year with Draft.
Yeah, I want to get into that at some point.
Yeah. Well, but like, one thing that I sort of made, I just think you have to be consciously aware of the influences of external of your body, and that's like advertising, like fast food, fucking beer, like everything, emotions from other people, everything external from you is an influence on you.
Yeah.
And I went in, I was doing like, I don't know, I've been thinking a lot about it. I love philosophy and stuff, so I'd sort of muster it over in my own mind, and tour seemed like the great practice for me to practice my diet. And that was one thing I was like, okay, well, I'm not a diet guy. Like, I fucking love pizza, pies, I eat hell shit.
Yeah.
I love Maccas.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, don't we all?
But, like, the idea of just knowing when you want it rather than just eating it out of habit.
Yeah.
And that's where consumerism takes over. And that's where that's an external influence to ourselves. Like, it's something else. It's a brand telling us eat.
Yeah.
And then we get anxious that we haven't eaten on the time that humans are meant to eat. Yeah, and it's like, all that shit's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, all that stuff's bullshit. And so when I was on tour, I was like, I'm just going to eat when I'm hungry, but not eat out of habit.
Yeah.
And so I started eating less, and it wasn't like a diet. It was just, I was eating when I wanted to eat rather than eating when I had to eat.
Yeah.
Like, as in, when I had to eat by time or habit.
Yeah, like lunchtime
or whatever.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just wouldn't have lunch. And it was hard to be around all the homies and then have lunch and be like, no, I'm actually not hungry.
Yeah.
But to actually just take that time to think and go, am I hungry? No, I'm not. I might just have a banana.
Yeah.
And just go buy a banana and then not eat.
Yeah.
And I actually felt so much better.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of taken that on again, and it's been a couple months now, and I fell off a little bit with New Year's and whatever. Your sink keeps a piss through Christmas and all that.
Christmas is the worst for it.
Oh, 100%. I think
Christmas
everyone falls off.
3 days of chicken, ham, turkey, and just
3 days, bro. I quit my job after tour, and I've had like 3 months of just doing fuck all but making music.
Box freezer full of it.
So yeah, so like all that comes to this point, and funnily enough, today coming to see you guys, I've just had this like epiphany of like, I'm letting everything around me influence me again.
Yeah.
And so today I was just like, nah, you know what? I'm just gonna not. I'm hungry, but I think I'm only hungry because I'm usually used to being hungry.
Yeah.
And so I was like, nah, I need to cut it out. And my IBS has been real bad this week. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going back to, I'm just going to have a day of water and ciggies, clearly.
A couple ciggies.
and leave it at that. And ciggies is another thing. Like, I don't usually smoke during the week when I work.
Yeah.
And I've quit harder recently because I've gone back to work. But like, another thing that's an external influence, and we're addicted to it. So we're addicted to ciggies, coffee, sugar.
The amount of times you'll be with someone,
goes hand in hand as well.
and shit, someone else pulls out a dart and something clicks in the back of your head and it's like, why don't I have a cigarette?
Yeah.
But
that's what I'm doing
that's
right now.
where I feel like most people, probably 85%, that's where they start smoking, is in a workplace environment, and they're around it for so long that they just fall into it.
But again, work. Habitual.
Yeah.
You're forced to do it because you need money. It's all consumerism and capitalism. And we're stuck in this position where we're like, fuck, I'm at work, I'm bored as fuck. What's one way I can make it fun? Ciggy break with my mate.
Yeah.
Bang. And that's how it happens.
Yeah.
And then you're addicted to it, and then the ciggies are winning because they're making tobacco companies are making money off that, and then it's all a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
But as long as you're aware of it, I think is the first step. So then going back to your diet thing, it's like you're aware of it. It's not about taking an extreme diet. It's just about being consciously aware of if you want to or not. If that makes sense. Like
what you said with the timing you know, like feeling like you need to eat at a certain time because that's like what we're used to. The other night, me and my girlfriend were sitting down. It was like, this is another like really bad part of my sort of diet, is eating way too late at night when I go to sleep, my metabolism shuts down and it just doesn't burn off anything.
I do the same thing.
And it got to like, I think it would have been like maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock. And we're sitting there watching the TV and like, I wasn't necessarily hungry, but she'd said, oh, you know, like we've not had anything for dinner. So then straight away I've gone, fuck yeah, we haven't. All right, let's like order food. And we're going through and we're trying to like look up fucking, trying to look up like Uber and shit. And we're just thinking like, oh, what do we want? And like, really, we should have gone, you know, do you want to get Red Rooster? Nah, I don't really feel like that. Do you want to get Macca's? Nah, I don't really feel like that. We should have at that point gone, all right, let's not get anything.
Yeah.
Because we clearly know in the back of our minds that we don't want to eat some shitty fucking burger right now.
Yeah.
But because we feel like we need to eat and we can't be bothered actually cooking ourselves, it's like we just...
Sorry, bro, I should have asked that before.
Like we just did it, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, that's...
It got to the point where we're like, oh, we'll just order Macca's.
Yeah.
Half an hour later, we're sitting there eating Macca's at fucking 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night, and I'm like, you know, eating it just thinking, why the fuck? And especially with stuff like that...
I did it last night, man. I did it last night. We got
it's
fucking
never satisfying
grilled.
either.
No.
You eat it, and then it's like, man, why the fuck did I just spend $30 on a bunch of shit that hasn't fulfilled me whatsoever? And now we're just sat here at 9:30. I feel like shit. I've got a belly full of shit, and I'm tired now. Like
the same feeling you get after you've watched like a porno you wouldn't really normally watch when you're fucking hell horny, and then it finishes and you catch a glimpse of the screen and you're like, I didn't need that.
Bro, I've had this conversation with so many people about like feeling bad after masturbating.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as binge eating and fucking like just being lazy. Sometimes you just like, you just get that this weird dirty feeling like someone's watching you. It's so weird.
Are you familiar with Theo Von? He's like an American comedian, and he runs a podcast, and we've listened to him heaps. But he actually like made a conscious decision to like completely stop masturbating.
Yeah.
Because of that reason.
Yeah.
He found himself like, you know, being at home all day doing nothing, and when he got bored, the first thing he'd do is just fucking masturbate.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where he was feeling that like shit about himself doing it that often, or every time he did it, he had to, you know, sort of say, you know what, this is an issue. I've got to fucking stop doing this shit. And I mean, I don't know how legit it is, but he reckons he's not done it for fucking ages now. Like,
man, that's funny you should say that. I got really interested in this topic when Kanye came out and said he was addicted to masturbation.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
I think he
had
did.
a whole thing with Pornhub as well, where he shouted them out on Jimmy Kimmel or something like that.
And he got caught with Pornhub on his phone in the president's
really?
office and stuff. Yeah, it was this whole thing, and then
that
came
is
out,
intense,
and it was really interesting because people were sort of like, "Oh, Kanye's crazy," and then there was a part of me being like, "Or he's just consciously aware that majority of people, due to the fact that porn is so easily accessible, are probably addicted to porn and masturbate."
Yeah.
And so I started reading up on it, like, not the addiction of porn, but the after effects of, you know, masturbation. Like, so once you finish, like, what happens in your mind? Because sometimes you feel bad and depressed. It's really weird. Yeah. And it's interesting. I think there's like a fair few studies that show that like depression or down feelings come from ending a masturbation session. Yeah. And it's interesting that then if a lot of people around the world were unconsciously addicted to porn because they just watch it when they're bored, habitually, it's there. It's like Netflix. Yeah. And then they finish. That's why like a lot of people are unhappy. It's this weird cycle again. It's all connected to what I'm feeling today. I'm very like aware of all this bullshit today. So it's weird that I'm talking to you. I've been having these thoughts like all day today.
That's good. We got plenty of shit
heaps to talk about. But that's that thing. It's like, there's this feeling bad about it. But then again, it's easily accessible. It's consumerism. You're consuming it because you've got nothing else to do. It's like food.
I think the feeling bad with it as well, if you're doing it, what would be the word? You know, you're just doing it every now and then. like you should with anything.
Yep.
It's when it becomes a vice or it becomes something
Exactly.
habitual or that you rely on.
Exactly.
That's when you start getting feelings of guilt, and it's not from the action itself. It's from the frequency of, how often you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's with
and
everything.
It's like, it's with fucking everything. The amount, and I think it's screen time's a big one.
Yeah.
Like the recommended time you should be looking at your phone, we all probably exceed that tenfold every day.
Yeah.
Oh, easily.
And it's something you don't
That's why
think
I've got
about.
these now, I swear to God. Like, my eyes have damaged across the last 7 years. To a point where it's like, it's the same thing. At first, it was only for screens, and now I can't see.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's clearly, like, when did I start getting an iPhone? You know, before my
I
eyes
feel
were
like
damaged.
the issue with that as well, with like where the screen time part of it becomes so hard to move away from it, is depending on your sort of line of work. No, there's that many people that they have no choice but to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
People in with the media and the music and all that sort of stuff. The only way you can sort of branch yourself out there now is through social networking.
Yeah.
So therefore, you've got to be on your phone every now and then, checking Instagram, putting up posts, doing
That's
fucking.
where it becomes like it's a subconscious thing, and it's people aren't talking about it as much as like diet and all this other stuff, because it's almost just as big a part of everyday life, if not bigger. What's the first thing you do when you get up? Make a feed or look at your phone?
Oh, look at my
Exactly.
phone.
I masturbate and then have a coffee and a cigarette. But
Have heaps of sugar, watch porn.
I basically knock them all out before 10 o'clock, and then I've got the rest of the day to...
Then at least you feel good by the end of the day, and then you do it again.
And then by my fourth wank, it's starting to, rattle off, and I'm feeling like shit. But
Man, totally. Yeah, it's blowing my mind, and it's hard to not get anxious when you think about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. And that's what I'm actually feeling really good today, because I'm taking control of that and being like, just deciding not to eat today. Might not be tomorrow. Maybe I might not do a whole day of fasting again tomorrow. It was just to wake my body up.
Yeah.
And you actually feel your body doing something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I am alive. Rather than just waking up, looking directly at your phone, then looking directly at a screen, then check your phone, then go buy a coffee, then watch Netflix, then Uber Eats, and it's all fucking just consuming.
Yeah.
It's all going in, but nothing's coming out.
Yeah.
Like, nothing. It's weird.
Fuck.
It's a weird time.
Yeah.
As
That's
long
a
as we're
feeling.
aware.
That's a feeling I've not felt for a long time. That I've realised when I was going to the gym and I was doing my calorie counting and shit. The feel. It doesn't sound stupid, but the feeling of hunger. I remember being younger.
And feeling hungry.
Yeah, and feeling hungry.
Yeah.
And
I was singing this today as well.
I was active at school and I was running around in the playground and fucking playing sports and shit on the weekends. And because I was fit and I probably had, a well-maintained diet through my parents, because they weren't just fucking, feeding me shit all the time. They were saying, you're only having this sandwich and fucking chips or whatever for lunch, and then we'll give you dinner later. It was in my house. I know, obviously people are different, but in my house, I couldn't just go into the pantry and start helping myself to shit.
Yeah, I was the same.
Because mum and dad would be like, well, no, you're not eating all the food. You can wait for your dinner.
Yeah.
And then
I was the same.
all the recess snacks and
shit.
Yeah, I love
getting all
recess,
the
bro.
LCM bars and shit.
But you're getting mad. I was the one that never got the LCM bars. I was like,
really?
motherfuckers, you're trying to trade my fucking fruit snacks for fucking...
Yeah, so
Fuck,
we had
man.
4 kids, so yours was probably the same, where it's like there'd be LCMs and you might end up with the reject shop version. of what an LCM is.
Yeah, my nana always got shit. I live with my grandparents. My nana always got shit for fucking... the hell cheap, the shit that was on bargain. And you go to school and everyone's like, what the fuck is that brand? You're like, fuck.
It's a home brand fucking fruit roll up or something.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have any pictures on there. It doesn't unfold. It's just stuck together.
It's just fucking rock hard, trying to gnaw at it.
Yeah, no shit, eh?
But yeah, totally.
I just remember getting that feeling of hunger. And then it wasn't until, like I said, with the whole calorie counting thing, going to the gym, that I started watching my diet. And it would get to the point where, it would be, 4 or 5 hours since I'd last ate in the morning or something. And I would actually start to feel my stomach churning and burning away at everything that was in there. Yeah. And I just remember feeling it. Well, not feeling it, but noticing it for the first time and actually thinking about it. And I was like, holy shit, it's been that long since I've felt that, because I would just eat out of boredom or, especially when you sort of start working and you got the money, and you're living by yourself. I don't have my parents to stop me from going to the fridge or whatever. You know, it's like exactly if I'm bored or if I feel like I'm a little bit hungry in the slightest, I can just go and get something.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, it just like blew my mind. I was like, holy shit! Like
sometimes all it is as well is just having that person to go, do you need that?
Yeah.
The amount of times I've gone like to get Uber Eats for the 3rd day in a row, and Robin's gone, shouldn't we just walk up to the shops? And it's like, we should, but now that I've got Red Rooster in my head, I feel like I'm not going to be happy until I get that.
Man, that's good branding, good fucking, good marketing on their end. But
for sure.
It fucks us up. But man,
until they get a photo go viral of a bunch of chickens in the back of their car, and then they're fucked.
To be honest, when I saw that, it made me hungry. It didn't...
I haven't seen that.
Didn't
You haven't
change...
seen it?
No.
Shit.
Fuck. Well, it's actually the Red Rooster up the road in Forestfield. Fucking someone took a photo, and what had happened was, I think they'd run out of chickens or the power. Something had fucked up, but basically the dude who owns that one and owns another one somewhere
drove them across.
Went and got not in boxes, like roast chickens piled on top of each other in the boot of the car. And someone, little hatchback, and someone had got a photo of this person with the boot up pulling these roast chickens out.
Surely that's
and I think they both got shut down,
and now they've got a big under new management sign out the front.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's still not open.
No, it's open. It's been open for a while. I've gone back there multiple times. I was going to get some of that boot chicken.
I'm actually thinking right now I could eat some fucking Red Rooster.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny that doesn't stop you.
How fucking crazy is that though, eh? Yeah, no shit. Yeah, still doesn't stop you. You can see something that bad.
Well,
and it you still just go. It's like when you watch documentaries on the TV of shit and
Super Size Me. Yeah. We all watched that and freaked out about chicken nuggets. A week later, I bought as many chicken nuggets as I could from Macca's. I wasn't fussed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, obviously with cigarettes, it's hard because it's an addictive, chemical that's in there that you need. But even
that, man, even quitting. So I was smoking fucking so much the last couple of months. I've just been bored at home making music. And the one thing I can't stop is smoking when writing. Mm-hmm. I don't smoke weed. I do, but literally only if I'm in Melbourne with Remy and the boys, I'll smoke. If I'm here, I don't smoke weed because I need to be in my own comfort zone, and I only am comfortable around, Remy's like my brother. Yeah. So he teases me and shit when I'm held stoned.
Remy?
Yeah.
Oh shit, we'll have to get into that at some point.
Sure. But man, he's just a good friend of mine, but we'll always blaze. But I can't smoke, I couldn't smoke today because I would just get real anxious and real down.
I'm the same.
But the smoking, cigarettes, I can.
Yeah.
And so red wine and cigarettes has been my sort of vice.
Oh, shit, that's a bit classy, that is.
I was going to say, I buy either the cheapest beer or bourbon and then get a pouch of rollies.
Put it this way, man, how much is your beer? Fucking $6 or something?
Very good point.
I buy an old fucking Italian cask wine for $7. It's fucking
that's solid.
It's a lot of litres as well. So I'm actually on the cheap wine when I'm in the studio.
Just quickly, in terms of your creativity, do you find yourself to be... I mean, it's weird because it's obviously both alcohol, but would you find yourself to be more chilled out and thoughtful drinking red wine as to what you'd be if you were sinking back Jack Daniels?
Yeah.
Because I feel like something like that, drinking bourbons or beers, because it's so easily... I mean, I'm not a big fan of wine, but for me, if I was drinking red wine, I'd have to sit on it and sip away.
I think that's the thing. And man, funnily enough, I looked into that as well ages ago, and I can't remember what I read, but there was some sort of study or something, and I may have made this up, but I don't think I have. But the conversations you have over red wine are more meaningful than what you would have over a beer, per se. For some reason, it makes you feel more switched on.
Yeah. We're putting this to the test, and we're doing a podcast where we just drink red wine because we used to film on a Wednesday afternoon, and it'd be after work. We both lived in the same house.
I should have brought wine.
So it'd be standard that we drink alcohol, but now that we're doing Saturday mornings, it's ice mockers and Red Bull or whatever. But yeah, I feel like we should switch it up one day.
Totally, man. Bring me back. We'll have a test. We'll have some beers and then we'll have some wine and see where the conversation goes.
Yeah, because I know when we do drink, conversation tends to go from meaningful to fucking nonsense real quick.
Yeah.
It's normally hilarious nonsense.
Yeah.
Fast anyway.
Yeah.
But
I think it's like, I feel like red wine would give you that, like you said, it gives you that sense of like, I'm trying to think of the word. Oh, it's like if you were to sit in a bar, dimly lit bar with another man, and you start making out. No, it's like, if you were to sit in a bar with a man and you're drinking straight whiskey.
yeah, it's whiskey
It
and
gives
cigars.
you that. It gives you that. You feel like a gentleman. You know, you feel
mahogany and
sophisticated.
leather-bound books.
Yeah, it's like you feel sophisticated about things. I feel like you get the same feeling with red wine, talking over, having red wine over dinner or whatever.
I reckon that's why I started drinking it when I was younger. Like, literally just wanted to feel... Like, I love it now.
Yeah.
And it's, like, my thing. But, you've got to start somewhere, and it's a taste you grow into.
I was going to say, how did you go with the taste? Because, like,
I love it. I maybe hated it the first time, but I love it now.
Do you have... so you just go for the same wine every time?
Man, I'm a cheapskate when it comes to drinking at home.
Yeah.
So if I'm at home, I'll just get the cask wine because I don't finish a whole bottle in the studio. I don't get drunk. I drink for the vibe.
Yeah.
And like I enjoy it. And it always goes down with a cigarette well. It's like cigarettes and coffee. Cigarettes and wine goes down so well.
Yeah.
So like I'll get the cheap one because it will last me months and I can just every time in the studio just pour me a glass. But then like if we go out, and I'm not a wine snob at all. Like, I have barely any knowledge. Like, I'll understand what, like, a dry is or whatever the fuck, the difference between Merlot and Cab Sav and the natural wine or whatever. But I'm not a massive nerd on it.
Yeah. You don't hold your glass like that and swirl it around.
I'll give it the old swirl.
Give it a smell and the aroma.
Man, I try, but fuck, do I know what I'm talking about? Absolutely, probably
it's
not.
It's like people with coffee. People do that with coffee. It's like, I work at Brown's.
Yeah. Is that where you've been shouting out Browns, is it?
Yeah. But we've got fucking, like...
They do the mocha chill? The Browns do the mocha chill?
Yeah. It's Hunton...
Legendary.
They do, like...
Very legendary.
There's a brand called Hunton Brew, I think it's called. And it's supposed to be, like, a high-end iced coffee. Mm-hmm. So instead of, like, having your iced coffee for the, iced coffee chill or whatever, it's just fucking loaded with sugar. It tastes nothing like an actual coffee.
Yeah.
These ones are, they're supposed to be, like, barista-made kind of thing. But on the description for each flavour, if you were to just pick them up and not know, and you're not much of a coffee connoisseur or whatever, you would just think they all taste the same. Mm. But on the labels, like one of them's like smoky finish with a hint of caramel. Mm-hmm. Fucking, I don't even know, smooth finish with like hint of berries and fucking almonds or some shit. And when I noticed, I was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking start taking tiny sips of this shit. And swill it around in my mouth. The shelf.
You've been stealing little bits out of everything.
Just like swill it around in my mouth and see if I could like actually find these, like notes of flavour and shit.
Yeah.
And I think maybe once I got the one with the berry, but I think because in my head I was like, oh, it's got berry in it. I was just the slightest hint of a berry. I was like, oh, there it is. But like...
You'd be better off doing it and not reading the labels first.
And figuring it out and then trying to read it.
Yeah.
But it's the same with wine. Like, I used to try and do that. So, like, taste it and, man, it's all just poetry. Mm. And I think that's what I loved about wine, is that, they do all the weird descriptions and they're, like, they're telling you about it or whatever. And there's something fun about coming up with your own sort of meaning for what this is. Yeah. And it's like anything, it's all perception. Yeah. So a lot of people may just, and me included, may just read the back of the bottle when they're buying it and be like, oh yeah, this is soft berry flavours, complements of red steak or whatever. Yeah. Very typical description that it complements red meat or whatever. You take that home. But then like taking that home and opening it, it's like, well, okay, well, what can I actually taste? And sometimes it's fun to think about what you could write about that wine. Yeah. And same thing. And a lot of it's just fucking marketing. And like branding, it's just like, oh, this is going to market to this type of person that comes into Liquorland and buys this or whatever.
Yeah, people do that with, reviews on music and movies and shit as well. They're always coming up with a new way to describe something. Yeah, as opposed to saying, this album was really well put together. It's like, I can't think of an example.
I know what you
but
mean.
It's
Yeah.
always some real far-fetched, far-out, sort of groundbreaking.
Yeah. And it's all the same thing, man. It's
Yeah.
all just the language, how you use the language.
And I suppose it's a way to individualise things as well.
Yeah.
You know, you're not using, like you said, the same description to describe everything.
Yeah.
Everything, you can note the small differences. I don't
Yeah.
know.
But
Yeah,
I think that's fun.
perfectionist.
That's why I enjoyed it. I don't know. There's something about it that's poetic to me, like wine itself. I'd love to get into like whiskey and stuff, but I don't even know if I can stomach it.
I was gonna say I get way too bad indigestion drinking straight whiskey. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's something I'm just not. I haven't grown into that taste,
Well,
but it's something I want to try.
It's one thing to
definitely.
drink wine because that is sort of like just a bad tasting drink, whereas whiskey is like, okay, now I'm drinking rocket fuel. Like,
Literally, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna get also very drunk.
yeah, this is
Like,
methylated spirits with fucking brown food dye in it.
pretty
basically.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I've got some friends that are all very much wine snobs, but they're also very much whiskey snobs, and like when I hang out with them, they're always trying to explain to me the flavors of the whiskey or whatever, and I'm like, man, I'm not getting that. I might be getting a bit of that wood flame fire taste that you're talking about, but the rest, it just sounds like my stomach's on fire and I'm
Yeah.
fucking gonna
Yeah.
throw up after 4 of these. Like
Yeah.
honestly, but you know, it is what it is.
Do you have do you drink before performances?
No. Oh, I lie. Like, no, I don't. As I said earlier, and like, I really do battle with a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
So, anything that puts me out of control
Yeah.
before, like weed,
Yeah.
alcohol, when I'm doing something that I need to be switched on for, especially when I'm rapping bars for 3 minutes straight with no hook.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, and I'm in front of people. Doesn't matter if it's in front of 2 people, in front of 100 people.
Yeah.
My fucking anxiety
That
goes through the roof.
yeah.
And like, I can prep as much as I want, but it's always still there. And the one way I feel safe and good about it is if I don't drink.
Yeah.
So it's just
that's
something
the
I
way
don't
to
do.
I am exactly the same. So
I might take one of those. Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
the first few times I performed, I drank.
You're a rapper?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
I didn't. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I've not fucking released anything for a long time, so I don't blame
What's your rap name?
He's retired.
Retired. Retired early.
you. Yeah.
Ildog.
Yeah, Ildog,
Sick.
yeah.
Sick.
Um,
Should have known that before. I'm looking at the camera like fucking idiot over here.
Nah, it's all good. Fucking, but yeah, like the first few times I'd like performed, I would drink.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't work. Like I'd be on stage, I'd be forgetting bars, or like you said, like anxiety kicks in. I never suffered with anxiety, and then I had this fucking big issue, like trip out fucking thing that went down with like drugs,
Yeah.
and it triggered it. And at that time that it did it was at the time where I was like performing and I was working on my EP and all that sort of shit. So then I was doing gigs, and you know, anxiety then became like an issue for me. So like you said, I had to sort
I think I've
of
got a spark over here somewhere.
no, you don't.
No,
I don't think you do.
Fucking stole it.
So then I had to, like you said, become sort of in control of what I was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I stopped drinking, but the only thing is then because I'll get nervous or whatever, I'll be fucking out the back chain smoking darts.
And I stopped that as well.
Yeah.
So like I will on tour. So like I was, you know, before the tour started with Draft, I was like trying to, you know, as I said, look at my diet and what I'm doing, and I was like cigarettes. Like I am consciously aware that cigarettes are bad.
Yeah.
I cut down, so I don't drink. I don't smoke during the week at work, so I don't smoke from the morning, like any time in the morning, up until I get home, and then when I get home, I'll have one before dinner. Then on the weekends, it's sort of still free reign for me.
Are you ashing in that?
Yeah, the coffee.
But when I was on tour, I was like, just before I went on tour to Draft, I was like, yeah, I might quit ciggies, and he was like, don't. Like, just as in not being like, don't quit ciggies because it's cool to smoke, but like, dude, you're about to go on like this big journey with all your mates.
Yeah.
Do you really want to be in a fucking bad mood? And
yeah.
like
That's
sweating,
Altering your
and,
sort
like,
of mindset. kind of thing,
exactly,
yeah.
and then everyone around you smoking, like
Yeah.
smoking sections of all fucking bars and stuff. and just be itching. Like, it's just not a good experience.
Yeah.
And I totally understood that, and I was like, okay, shit, you're right. Like, it's going to hinder my experience, so I'm not going to do it.
Plus, I suppose, and we'll get into that, but that tour.
So you
itself
smash back
is
a
like-
pack of 40 before every
Well,
set.
this was the thing. So on that, I was like, I also have identified my anxiety increases with ciggies.
Yeah.
So this is over a lot of fucking self-reflection of like feelings and stuff. And so I was smashing ciggies all through the day. I was like, fuck it, like I'll smoke whenever.
Yeah.
But then coming to about an hour before my set, I don't smoke.
Yeah, smart.
So I don't smoke, I don't drink, I just have water. I don't even, like, I love soda water. Got a Soda Stream bottle, but no soda in it. But like, to get off Coke, like Coca-Cola and shit, because I was a fizzy drink.
Sparkling mineral water and shit.
Yeah. So I'm just like, but I was fucking wasteful with plastic. So I was like, man, I got a Soda Stream. My missus bought me a Soda Stream for my birthday. It was the fucking best gift I've ever had.
So it pays for itself.
Pays for itself. But every single time I'm like, it's fucking paying for itself.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah.
So yeah, water. So no soda water before because it gets gassy. No smokes because I sound like a fucking nerd, but it's true. No smokes before, like an hour before, because of anxiety, and no beers because I don't want to get slurry. I want to stay tight as fuck.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, all games off,
Yeah.
like all rules off.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
100%.
I think it was definitely would have been a contributing factor. But I had polyps on my vocal cords.
What's that?
They're like tiny little fucking lumps. So they developed from like misuse of my vocal cords. Whether or not that was from
yelling or some shit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I honestly feel like I know exactly when it happened or when, like, the moment I caused it, right? So I'd done an EP, had this whole fucking issue with the drug shit, fucked off to the UK for 6 months because that's where I'm originally from, so all my family's over there. So I went over to the UK for 6 months.
That's sick.
Worked on my second EP, came back, recorded it all, started doing gigs. During that time, I was driving my car, and I'm a massive Nirvana fan. And I was driving in my car, and I had Nirvana blasting. I was with my mate, and I can't remember what song it was, but a song was playing, and I was saying to him, like, how the fuck does he do it? You know, get that like real grungy sort of sound. And I'm trying to mimic it in the car. So I'm like fucking like yelling and like screaming along to this Nirvana. And I honestly feel like that was the moment that when, like my vocal cords just went, yeah, nah, done. And fucking, it got to the point where this would have been about maybe 2 years ago now, even maybe a bit longer. And which is the reason why I have not like done fuck all music since, but
because of the vocal cords.
Yeah, so it got to the point where I lost my voice completely. And when I say I mean like completely, like I'd wake up in the morning and I'd try and talk and there would be nothing.
Wow.
And it was fucked. And at that point, it went into panic mode. I was like, holy shit, like I've got no voice. When I did have a voice, it was cutting out. Like I'd be mid-sentence and it would just fucking cut, or like it would go like high, like as if my balls are breaking sort of shit.
Holy shit.
And
so you really
so I ended up going to an ENT specialist, which is like ear, nose, throat, and he fucking put a camera down there, which I don't recommend because it is not fun. Having to be awake, they spray like anesthetic up there to like numb it, and then just this long ass fucking rubber like tube thing with the camera on the end, and it just goes straight up your nose, down the back of your throat.
Dude, fuck
and
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's fucked. And like I was just sitting there, and he's like put it in there, and he's got this little fucking TV screen with the camera footage on it, and he's like, "Oh, do you want me to show you what it is?" So I'm like looking at it
with your mouth open with the
So I'm looking at it, and he's like showing me, this like lump that had formed on the vocal cord. So I was like, holy fuck. I was like, what do I do? Like, does it just naturally go? Whatever. And he's like, nah, you're going to have it like surgically removed.
Fuck.
So because I don't have fucking private health insurance, which I hate, like I kick myself every time something happens that I don't have private health insurance. Because of that, I had to wait. So it was either pay, I think it was like $2,500 to go and get it done straight away by a specialist, or get on the public waiting list. At the time, I didn't have $2,500, so I went on the waiting list. Fast forward like I think it was maybe a year before they even contacted me.
Wow.
So in that
So that's
year,
why you stopped music.
yeah, so in that year, I
man.
couldn't record anything. I was still having issues talking. Like, it came. Well, I say it came back, but really, my vocal cords managed to work around. So your vocal cords are just like that, and they just vibrate, and that's how you get like your your sounds and shit.
Yeah.
So they basically, with this tiny little lump, it just kind of like managed to work its way around it.
Yeah.
So I eventually got a voice back, which wasn't, and even now I feel like my voice isn't the same as what it was, but obviously because it's what I'm used to every day, I can't really tell. But I listen back to some of the music I made, and even then it's like just tiny things, the certain tone of my voice or how I've emphasized a certain word in a track. I feel like now if I was to go back and try and do it exactly the same, I would struggle in certain areas. And so I eventually had this fucking operation, couldn't talk for, I think it was 6 days. I had to be in complete silence, complete vocal rest. So, and I go to uni as well, I study. So I had to take around, I was living here at the time, and I bought like this miniature whiteboard and a marker, and I'd be sitting here writing fucking questions to these dudes.
But before that, he had an app on his phone, and I'm pretty sure it was a female's voice as well,
voice.
but
That's
he would
brilliant.
type it and it'd go, "Do you want to go to the shops?"
I would have kept doing that. That's sick.
Yeah,
it was
it was
fucking
fucking-
hilarious.
Man, you should. This is in retrospect. We know what would have been sick.
What?
Writing a fucking project with the fucking.
Oh, no shit, hey.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
doing the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
doing raps through that.
Yeah.
And then just editing the timing.
Just doing like some Daft Punk sort of
Yeah,
shit.
you should just do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Fuck, that is a solid idea, right?
Yeah, man, that would have blew up.
That would've been
Yeah,
cold.
had to go complete vocal rest, and then
Dude, that's hectic.
after that I went to speech therapist to they gave me like warm-ups, but the weirdest thing, like it was a very, very strange experience, was being on complete vocal rest after having the surgery, and then talking for the first time. And it was like that kind of, it was scary because it was like I was trying to talk, and it was like I'd almost forgotten how to actually voice, vocalize words and shit. And I just remembered like doing it and just thinking like, holy shit, like, is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse? Am I going to have this voice for the rest of my life? Like, and because of my music, I do like, I don't take it, well, I do take it seriously, and it is a passion. So at the time I was like, holy fuck, like if this is what it is, I won't be able to fucking perform, or I won't be able to record tracks or whatever. And we've only just in the last, maybe month or 2 months been working on like an EP.
Wow.
And we've not actually recorded anything, but we've done bits and bobs, and I've been writing and actually rapping and shit. And even
Get that
now
on tape. EP coming soon.
yeah, exactly.
Don't get it on tape, because we already said it on tape, and we're about a month behind schedule.
yeah, he gave us a fucking 3 month. He was like, 3 months we'll have an EP out, and now we've got maybe a month left, and we've probably got 2 tracks done.
We've made
But
some ground.
yeah, it was fucking,
Better
it
than
was
nothing.
so weird. But I can't even remember how I got into this conversation. It was something about
I don't know, but this is
screaming or
super
whatever.
interesting.
Ciggies
Something
and
about- oh yeah. So
rituals before stage.
yeah, that's right. So I feel
memory.
like this is
I'm
where
so
I know.
stoned, I don't
what
know
the
how I
fuck?
remembered
I know. So this is where I feel like the smoking beforehand, the drinking beforehand, drinking on stage, everything. I feel like that's where it all played a part. There was a long period of, even if it was just us fucking getting drunk, freestyling, just doing dumb shit, misusing my voice then, screaming Nirvana lyrics in the car, smoking shitloads before I went on stage, and then having to perform with a dry throat, and instead of drinking water, drinking beer, which isn't helping the situation.
Yeah.
Things like that for me anyway, that come in, like they sort of come together, is I get like bad reflux, which was also, they thought that could have been a reason. So like acid reflux was irritating my vocal cords and stuff. But so smoking, drinking, bad diet, I feel like those 3 things all played a massive part in that. And yeah, like looking back at it, it's like, man, so now, like, obviously having gone through all of this sort of stuff, for my future, you know, performances or stuff that I do, that's not happening. Like, I'm not fucking drinking beers on stage. I'm making sure I'm, like, you know, sober, drinking water. I'm not going to be fucking chain smoking before I get on there, because it's something that I need to... And it's not even just me. Like, I feel like everyone needs to, like, realise. You see some people, and obviously everyone's type of music is different. You're very chilled out, so you might not have that issue of having to fucking, you know, project your voice over the top for your style of music. But there is a lot of people that fucking, you know, they might write a song. Obviously, people have got trained vocal cords and stuff for, you know, your heavy metal screamo bands and shit, so they know how to do it. They're doing it properly. But for a lot of people, just your average Joe who's trying to make some fucking, I don't know, like, just some hardcore rap shit, or like even grime, and it's just like real fast paced, fucking loud tempos, not screaming, but like, you know, that grungy kind of sound. It's like, you kind of need to understand what you're doing with your vocal cords to prevent shit like this. Totally. And like, I feel like, you know, I mean, I'm not famous, but from what I went through, I wish that people would see that and be like, fuck, you know, this shit can actually fucking happen.
Yeah.
And it is something that you need to be aware of as an, you know, as an artist kind of thing.
Dude, that's like probably that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear, and even smoking ciggies. I'm like, man, I know I have to stop, and I haven't smoked for very long. Like, I went to London for a year, and again was in a job. I took a year off music, just to like recalibrate. And in that time, I had a desk job in marketing, and everyone smashed beers and smoked ciggies. Yeah. And so I was like, fuck it, and I picked it up, and I haven't stopped yet. And it's only been 6-7 years. Yeah. But that time I know could push out to 15 years, and then there could be some severe consequences. Yeah. And if I lose my vocal cords to cancer or something that I could have prevented because of, you know, I was being an idiot. Yeah. If I could have prevented that, I'm going to be absolutely like just gutted.
It's a fuck thing to even try and get your head around.
And the experience you've gone through is something that I think every single musician in the world could be like, I would like, it's our worst nightmare. Yeah. It's crazy that you've come back from that. That's absolutely crazy. It blows my mind. I couldn't even comprehend the feeling you would go through if you thought you couldn't rap again or sing again or speak again, speak normal. Like, and people go through that all the time. Like,
well, it's the
crazy.
Second thing on the worst fears list, right behind going deaf. Yeah, like going deaf, I'd probably just kill myself. If I'm being honest with you.
It's something. So I suffer with tinnitus. I think that's how it's pronounced. Like the ringing in your ears. Fuck. And that's another thing that that's actually more of a worry for me, is because I know I'm going deaf. Yeah. It's physically there. Like I'm actually going deaf, and I'm losing frequencies in my music, and for that reason, on the time I've had off, I've had to like, and tinnitus again is psychosomatic to a point, and a lot of people don't know that. So like, you damage your ears, whatever, and like, it's loud music coming to your ears, and then it ruins the hairs, and the hairs don't come back, and then your brain tries to replace the frequency that the hair was bringing through, or this is very bad scientific explanation, but that's sort of what happens. And so the brain creates the sound in your head. So it's actually not your ears that are down, it's your brain creating the sound. So it's internal, which is fucked. So the more I think about it, the more I get stressed out about it. And a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah, Anthony Kiedis has got tinnitus.
Man, this is the thing, like, I've done heaps of, like, just to make me feel better, like, who's got tinnitus that's like in the music industry. Effectively everyone's got it. I mean, we live in such a noisy world.
Is it onset from gigs, performances?
Totally. I used to do like the dubstep thing, like back in the day, you know, like over 10 years ago now, with Deadweight. The fallbacks were so loud because it was a DJ set, and the boys just didn't, like, they had their headphones on, and I'm just there fucking doing my thing, and it smashed my ears. And I never realized at the time, I was like 19, I couldn't hear coming out of the club because I was supporting and rapping over all the DJs, so I was doing like 7-hour sets. Fuck. And just like, I was just pissed. Like, this was the Big Ape days and the Grizzled days, and I was doing 7-hour sets across like, you know, all the DJs.
Yeah.
Well, 1 hour sets across 7 DJs. And I'd come out and it'd just be like just complete, and I could be like, what? And everything goes numb, like you can't hear shit.
Yeah. Fuck.
And now, you know, when I get super down, like if I'm depressed or my anxiety goes up, like it comes up again.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking about it, which makes you overthink the issue, and then whatever.
Yeah.
And it keeps going, and then you can't sleep, and then you become insomniac and like all that shit. So I deal with that heaps. So that's like my fear is fuck, like I need to be careful with my hearing, because if I'm not careful with that, my tinnitus will take over, and it's uncurable.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
That was the first thing that got recommended to me. So when I went to the speech therapist, she asked me, you know, how I go in terms of performing. Do I have, you know, like the fallback and all that sort of shit? Like, she was basically just trying to get an insight into into the environment that I perform in. And straight away, she was like, you need like in-ear monitors.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to, when it comes to the vocal, you're trying to rap loud enough that you can hear yourself clear enough to know what you're doing. Because I mean, I'm sure you've been there, but when you can't hear what the fuck you're saying, you're just trying to, you know, you can't hear what you're saying, you think you know what you're saying, and it's just that there's that kind of little bit in you that's like, fuck, you know, do I sound good? Does the actual sound good? And yeah, she said, you know, you need to invest in in-ear monitors, because you'll be able to monitor how you sound. You'll hear yourself clearly. Yeah. You're not relying on all this surrounding, you know, sound to sort of judge, you know, everything. And yeah, like I feel like that would also be something for, you know, for tinnitus kind of thing. That's that's why you have these fucking, you know, all these massive bands doing festivals and shit. They've got in-ear monitors for that reason. Yeah,
and that's it. Like I've now learnt, because like I can't hear tinnitus on the day to day because the world around you lifts it up.
Yeah.
It's when you think about it, you start hearing it. So I've been like, and when you're, you know, down or whatever, and but I know that. So my ears get fatigued now. So I no longer mix any of my own music. I used to mix all my own shit. I'm qualified audio engineer or whatever, and I used to mix all my own stuff. But I knew that I just for some reason always mixed really loud. Yeah. And so that on top of all the performing was smashing my ears. Now I'm just like, okay, I've done exactly that and sort of analysed why. What are the effects, like what are the influences of the tinnitus on my ears? One is really loud foldbacks. Yeah. So I now rap with almost no beat on stage, and just slightly enough beat for me to hear the rhythm. Yeah. And keep my vocal at a point so I'm not over projecting, or there's not enough. I'm not turning the foldbacks up really loud to combat the external sound or whatever. Yeah. Sometimes that's a really weird balance, and I learnt that the hard way on tour.
You're sort of letting the equipment do the work for you,
exactly,
as opposed to over projecting.
Because exactly,
overcompensating.
Exactly, because in the studio, depending on how you rap and how you deliver, as you said, like if you're in Nirvana, you're gonna deliver that hardcore in the studio. Like you're gonna be yelling or whatever. Like Korn, Slipknot, all these fucking bands, they're gonna be going hard on the mic. But as a rapper, specifically for me, I tried to lay back off it a little bit. So I turned the mic up rather than projecting to the mic. Like it's just, and then you just think about that in a live circumstance. Like, okay, well, if I want to project my vocals like they are now, I just have to turn this mic up and turn the foldback up on the vocals, so I'm not trying to compensate for the lack of hearing my vocal. But then sometimes, some days I get hell anxious that I want to hear the beat more than the vocal. So sometimes I'll try the beat louder than the vocal. But yeah, all of that stuff, I just don't listen. I still listen to music. I think you still have to live your normal life, as you know. Like, you've been through it more than I have. Like, my ears are still working. But I'm just very cautious of that. Then I'm like, fuck, at some point, it could get to a point where I go insane.
It was a massive realisation to me. It actually popped up on Facebook the other day as like a memory thing, because it was about this time last year. I think it was March the 20th. I had my surgery. And yeah, I put something on Facebook just saying like it's only like I've never realised until now how valuable like communication is, and whether, you know, just being able to talk to someone to get a point across, or to ask them, you know, can I have this, or blah blah blah. I felt so rude because I knew that I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I just felt so rude sometimes going to, say, the servo to get fuel, and they've gone, oh, hey mate, how you doing? And I couldn't say anything because I was completely, you know, vocal rest. I couldn't say anything, and I just have to like look at them and be like, and then just walk off.
Pull
and
out
like,
your phone and
Hello.
sit there for 15 minutes.
yeah.
Hi.
Line behind you,
Yeah,
like,
no
I'm
shit,
good, thanks. How are you? Like, then wait for them to respond, like, number 4.
Yeah.
And a pack of
was like,
ciggies.
it was like that, man. Like, I'd have to fucking, like, just, I couldn't say anything. And it was like, just going, like I said, going to uni and having to fucking use this thing on my phone, or write on a, you know, on a whiteboard to get, just to answer a question. Or
I was going to
ask a
say, were you
question.
putting your hand up to answer questions and then taking the time?
I actually did write. I did, and I remember once I was sitting in class and they'd asked a question or whatever, they're talking about something, and I started writing down the shit, and because I'd let them know, so I'd let my lecturers and shit know, and it was funny because I was writing, and people were answering these questions, and she'd like noticed that I was writing and just kind of like made a point and was just like waiting for me to finish. And she's like, oh yeah, Elliot. And I just like put it up. And it was funny, like, because a lot of people in the class knew what had like gone on. I'd sort of told people and shit. And yeah, it was pretty funny. But just the feeling of not being able to communicate to people. And I'd never took... it's like I'd always taken it for granted. You know what I mean? Like, some people can't communicate.
Yeah.
There are millions of people out there that can't communicate.
Yeah.
And
It puts it in perspective.
yeah. I was just like, man, this is just nuts. Like, and it was for 6 days, and those 6 days were just so hard, just having to sit there in complete silence. And like, I could listen to music, but couldn't talk to anyone, and it was just, oh man, it was just difficult. Like,
Man, it happened to I don't know if you've seen that documentary with Steve Aoki. Have you seen that?
oh, I've actually not, but I've it's on Netflix. I've been meaning to watch it.
I've watched it. I don't know why I watched it, but it's really interesting. And a similar thing happened to him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same issue, but it was from yelling too loud and
Yeah.
fucking up his vocals. And yeah, he had the same thing. He had to like get some surgery done on his vocal cords.
Yeah.
And he was still traveling around doing DJ sets and shit.
Yeah.
And then there was, I think, Toki Monster. I think it was Toki Monster. Woke up one day and couldn't understand music.
Fuck, I feel like I've heard this before. Maybe seen like a clip about it on Facebook or
Yeah.
something.
So she's like a crazy producer.
Yeah.
Like have you heard of her before?
No.
She's cool. I don't know what she's doing now. When she first started, she was doing very much like electronic beat stuff.
Yeah.
I know she still does that. Very like sort of in the same realm of like Flying Lotus and all those things. But I think she's very much, I mean, Flying Lotus obviously ghostwrites and does commercialized stuff as well. But I think she's very much got that sort of commercialized status as well. And she does both.
Yeah.
So I don't know where her music's gone, but her as a musician, like, I've always followed her and loved her shit.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know what the doco was called. I think it was because I was discussing with someone else about tinnitus and the psychosomatic sort of formula by which, like, more stressed you get, the less, like, your ears get worse and all that sort of stuff. And we got onto the thing of, like, losing your hearing. And Toki Monster didn't lose her... I don't know if she lost her hearing. She lost how to comprehend music.
Yeah.
That is
So
insane.
she was listening to it and didn't know... Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but she didn't know how to...
Like,
Yeah.
Like, she just didn't
going
understand
into
what
it-
was like
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
just-
like white noise, she
Yeah,
reckons.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just like...
But going into it, she had, like, again, I think I've seen it. It sounds real familiar.
Yeah.
But she lost all knowledge of, like, musical theory
Yep.
itself or something
Everything.
like that.
It just
So,
the understanding of the concept
Yeah.
of music disappeared from her brain.
something as simple as structuring chords.
Yeah,
You know, just gone.
No,
Things
I
that were common knowledge to her.
exactly. Yeah, it was
wild.
that's exactly what happened. I don't know now. Like, I'm trying to like think back on where I saw it or read it. I think it was some sort of tumor, or it was definitely some sort of brain damage in
that's
regards to like whether or not it was a tumor or psychosomatic. I don't know what
so
it was.
Yeah, like a certain
Something
area of her
happened.
brain had been
Sort of switched off or changed the way it worked.
Man, it's
And it just woke up one day and couldn't do it.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
That is, fuck.
And it just puts everything in perspective. Like, wow, you need to, sort of understand what people go through.
Yeah.
Like, not just be self-aware and conscious, but be consciously aware of the people around you. And yes, that then puts your life in perspective to value things more, but then also to be like, wow, you know, other people do have it tough. You know, people don't hear or speak every day. And that's not to say that they care as much. Like, maybe they're used to that. And so it's not about feeling sorry for someone. It's about understanding.
For sure.
Well, that's my take on it, but you know, someone else might say something different.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, having that value that every moment you can make music is a moment you should cherish.
Yeah.
For us as musicians.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and that could be for anything. It'd be every moment you run, or every moment you swim, or every moment you eat. And all these things, like, when you put it in perspective, it's like, wow, you could just wake up tomorrow and not understand how to make music.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think she got it, but she got it back, which is even more crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
It is like that. It is one of those things where you just have to sort of, like you said, cherish every moment. You could be a professional footy player, one day fucking, you know, break your femur or whatever and put you out for the rest of your career.
Dude, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
Who retired last year? It was like someone who was like at the top of their game. I can't even remember. I am a footy follower, but not massive.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I've forgotten. Anyway, it's a very high status footy player last year. Just sort of like got injured throughout the year and then retired.
Yeah.
It's like, shit.
Yeah.
Imagine being, and it's the same thing for you, like sort of coming to grips with the fact that you may not have been able to do that thing that you loved ever again. It's pretty rough.
Oh man, crazy shit, hey. Crazy shit.
Before we keep going, I need a piss.
Piss break, thank you. I was just about to call it a...
I don't know how we do it. Are we allowed to...
Yes, we can do a piss break, eh?
Yeah. Well, I can either pause it and we come back, or I'll just let it keep going.
It's up to you, mate.
Or we can do a 3, 2, 1 and then stop.
Yeah.
And then fucking we just come back in and be like, hey, what's going on?
You're right. We're having a piss break. We'll be back.
Straight to the point. You can go first.
Oh, thanks, bro. We back?
Yeah.
I think we are back, yeah.
We're back?
I'm keen to pick your brain about music.
Yeah. I don't know what I can give you, but you're more than welcome to pick.
Well, for starters, like you were saying, you're audio engineer. Do you produce all your own music as well? Or?
Nah, beat-wise?
Yeah.
Nah. I love the idea of producing.
Yeah.
I do produce, like whatever that meaning is, that definition. Like I sample and like dig. I love drum. I'm a nerd for beat producing, but I don't think I'm confident enough yet to rap on my own shit. And I have a very particular taste.
Yeah.
And also I feel as though I don't know when inspiration comes for music. Some of the beats I'm on are weird as fuck.
I think your beat selection is fucking dope. Like nothing
thank
sort
you,
of, you know, I listen to Lemonade and Reasons and I don't know, there's no two beats on there that sound identical. I don't know if that's because you've got multiple producers on there or...
Nah, so Lemonade's like fucking old now, but Lemonade was all these producers I was just digging up from like Europe and shit, just like finding them, and I rapped on it and then would send them the demo and be like, can I use this? And luckily enough, they all said yes. Some actually...
Rightfully so.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, but like there's some good producers in there, man. Like ESK, who was the producer of Freedom, which has got the rapper Tay on it from New Jersey. I just asked him if I can use that beat, and now he's like doing really well for himself. Really? So it's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. I was lucky enough to work with them. But then for Reasons, the last like 3-4 years now, I've been and for longer than that, but to make projects, I've been working with Ghost and Yo-Yo Lou. Are like predominantly my two producers.
Yeah. Well, shout outs to them because I mean, again, I can't say that I've heard of them before this point, but they're obviously making some dope shit.
Man,
so.
they're amazing in their own right.
Where
I'm
are
just
they
lucky enough
based?
to pick their music. They were both based here.
Yeah.
Ghost I've known since Lemonade days.
Yeah.
He's now in New Zealand looking after his baby girl, Nike. Yeah. But they're and shout outs to him. And we're still working together. So all the new project is pretty much apart from one song, is Ghost.
Yeah.
So every single song is produced by Ghost, and then there's one on there that's Yo Yo Lou. So we've been working on projects for a while, and I've been writing this newest project I'm doing since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say writing it, we're going to go down the rabbit hole, but writing it, like I was waiting for emotional times to write. So it wasn't like I was slaving over beats every time. In fact, I wrote most of them in less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it was waiting for the right times of emotion that I wanted to capture for that project.
Not forcing it.
It's not forcing the right. Like I can write, so Reasons was then the opposite. Reasons I wrote in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, produced it and then released it.
Yeah.
Whereas Burgundy Love...
That's a solid work ethic.
No, thank you, bro. But man, it was just because like Burgundy Love had taken so long, and all of a sudden I knew that I wanted to release music again. And when I was ready, I was like, I don't think the new stuff that's coming out in April-ish, late April-ish, 2020, so people know. Keep that on lyrical.
Listen to during your isolation period. While you're in
hopefully.
It's the best time to fucking release music, I feel.
Man, I'm sort of like I'm two minds about that. I stay very quiet when there's things going on around the world that are impacting people, and there's a few reasons for that. One, like when the bushfires were on, there's a part of me that feels I don't need to make noise because a lot of people are suffering right now, and I don't want. My music is nothing in comparison to the pain that people are feeling.
Yeah.
And often the noise means nothing without some action behind it. So it's like unless you're out there actively doing something about it, it seems
which I would have
pointless.
loved to have done. But I didn't have the following to be able to earn enough money to make it substantial enough to help people.
In that circumstance,
exactly.
And everyone would have loved to help, but it's sort of fallen back and realising that sharing a post and attacking someone on Facebook or whatever it is isn't going to be the thing that gets it done.
No, so. and I mean, and I used to feel that as well, and I do still feel like that, and I don't post my opinions on world issues. I have opinions on world issues. I'm sure we'll all have opinions on them, but I feel like, making noise in circumstances like that when people around the world are suffering, and I know people are suffering every day, and it's we should be dealing with that as well. But the corona shit that we're going through now, I'm in two minds. I'm like, I don't want to voice my opinion on it, not because I'm scared of people hearing my opinion, but I feel like social media and the communication platforms that we use now are just so noisy. I feel like we're almost just in this echo chamber where we're only yelling to hear ourselves.
Yeah.
Rather than yelling for the right reason. And yes, the right reason is potentially whatever you believe, either or, about the virus. There are people dying. And if I didn't, I'm not entirely sold on the virus's effect, but I'm not educated enough to put my voice out there, then I'm seeing the effects in deaths. And if someone we knew's poor grandparents passed away because of that, they're going through a tough time. So there's no, it's very selfish of me then to go on social media and tell them, I don't believe about it, or I do believe about it, and sort of make an echo chamber of my own opinion when people actually get hurt by that stuff. Yeah.
And
so I just step away.
Information and opinions are so easily corrupted on social media and shit.
Totally. And I don't know fucking enough about this at all to be speaking on it. So I would rather stay quiet and learn. Yeah. And that's how I deal with every situation in those regards. So going back to it, I've taken a lot of time of learning to make music, and I don't know if I'll drop Burgundy Love during this period, but then there's a part of me that's like, Burgundy Love's the name of the record, but
that's a dope name.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I like that.
Funnily enough, it goes back to the wine chat.
Oh, yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah. Is there a song on there called Red Wine and Cigarettes? Because when you were talking about it before, I was like, fucking killer song name.
There fucking should be. I think someone's written a song called Red Wine and Cigarettes.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It sounds
like it should be.
I know someone's done coffee and cigarettes.
I was about to say, I feel like someone's got a song called Cheap Wine and Cigarettes. I want to say, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I could actually be wrong here, so don't quote me on it. Yeah.
Is it? Is it? No.
That's black
Red
fingernails. Almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Black fingernails from smoking too many days.
Too many times. Yeah, the insinuating it. Nah, but that's where that came from. It wasn't the wine and cigarettes that made that, but Burgundy Love is not a meaning; it's an embodiment. So it's the project embodied in 2 words that I feel represent the feeling and the color and the warmth and the, like, it is. When I wrote this, I wanted people to feel as though they were in a warm, dim lit room, having whiskey or wine, speaking to someone and having a conversation. And I almost want them, and it's in those conversations that usually you open up with people.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm opening up the most I've ever have in this newest project. And it's like, that's what I felt. It just felt right to call it Burgundy Love. So finally, when you said that earlier, I was like, man, that's exactly what I'm going for.
Yeah.
In a weird way. Like, you
That's
hit the
cool.
nail on the head. Yeah, but I don't know.
I feel like you've got a very creative mind.
Don't we all though?
Well,
As
yeah,
artists?
we do, but like sometimes I find it, like I personally find it difficult to kind of get into that sort of mindset, like what you're saying. You know, you want your project to make people feel a certain way. I feel like some songs, I feel like that is how I'm, you know, getting it across.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it does that. But then other times I just feel like I'm making a track for the sake of just making a track. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Like,
you've hit the nail on the head. And I'm not having to go at you at all. This is how I felt. And so a few years ago, we're going on a huge tangent, but fuck it.
Yeah.
A few years ago, or in 2015, I went to New York and did exchange.
I was going to say,
Skyzoo, we got to talk about that.
Yeah, so I went over there. Well, I actually worked with Skyzoo prior to that on Lemonade through the internet.
Okay,
And then
I'm going to have to go back and find that then, because that's cool.
that's on Lemonade, yeah. And then we kept in contact. And we became friends through the internet. And then he came on an Australian tour. And it was only right. I was almost pissed off that whoever booked him for the Australian tour hadn't put Perth on the map for it and hadn't put me on support of any of the shows. So I reached out and was like, can we buy a show for Perth?
Because I remember when he came too, and I remember telling you about it, but we were out in Bullsbrook at the time, and it was just... just didn't have the money at the time.
Oh
but
man, totally
fucking
fine. Yeah.
kicking myself that I didn't go.
Yeah, man. Well,
Skyzoo's
it was a great experience, and so I had some mates that were promoters at the time, and they helped me bring it together.
So dope.
And then I supported him. But we also hung out for a week. So we stayed in Perth for a week. We shot a video for the Push, which is on Lemonade, which was cool. And then he just sort of backed me in and was like, man, if you need anything, just let me know. Like, you guys have done more than enough for me in Perth whilst I've been here. I can only do the same if you ever come to New York. And it was always my dream to go to New York. And then all of a sudden, I just had this sort of like weird feeling of needing to get away and be free and sort of like recalibrate and artistically find myself and all that bullshit. And I wanted to go to India. I was like, man, I want to go to India. I just wanted to fucking feel something. You know?
Something different.
I just wanted to
like
just be vulnerable and like naked and feel pain and happiness and other cultures and understand it. But then I didn't have the money.
Yeah.
And then I was at uni at the time doing creative writing, and they had an exchange program, and I was like, does this exchange program go to New York? They're like, yeah, if you get accepted. And so I applied and got accepted. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to New York, baby. So got over there on the grant and the scholarship and did college for 6 months or whatever over there.
That is the coolest shit ever, man.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
It was insane, man. It was absolutely insane. And then, but I didn't know where I was. I've never really admitted this, but I didn't know where I was landing in New York.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm going to New York. I rushed through the process because the closing date for applying had already closed. So I wrote a huge formal letter and got like the head of creative writing at Curtin to like push me in and be like, man, this guy needs to go. And they let me go after the application date. So it was all late. I was booking everything, my flights, everything with like 3 weeks before going sort of thing. And so I hadn't really thought about where I was landing. And it turns out I was landing in upstate New York, Geneva.
Yeah.
I was landing in, I landed in Geneva, which is this little fucking airport, and just fucking nothing around, and it's 8 hours bus drive to Manhattan. So I was like so far away from anything. I was like, where the fuck am I? And then I just committed the bus ride. So every like break of uni, I'd go down, get an Airbnb, and just like live in New York, lived in Brooklyn, Queens, and then just met up with Sky and other rappers and shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and at the time I'd co-signed a EP with Illmind, who's a producer of J. Cole.
I know
and
who.
Drake.
That's yeah. That's fucking insane, man.
Yeah, man, it was sick, and I really felt like it was an amazing opportunity. At this point, I don't think he'd won a Grammy. I didn't even know he'd produced on J. Cole's album, and then I realized he did, and then J. Cole won a Grammy. And I was like, holy shit! So Illmind was like on the way up, and like, I mean, he's been amazing for the last 20 years, but he was definitely hitting a different sort of plateau, or
reaching like
stage.
Popular sort of. I don't want to say mainstream,
but definitely supplying them goods for that type of market. And then I ended up like, sort of having like a romantic relationship with this girl, and she was going to New York for summer, and all my mates at college were getting like internships. I was like, fuck, I don't even know what I'm going to do for a job. Like, creative writing's not going to pay the bills. And I wanted to stay in New York. And at the time I was driving down and doing sessions, recording the EP, because Illmind was in Brooklyn. So I was going to Queens with Skyzoo's engineer and recording it, and I was going to meet up with Illmind and get everything packaged and ready to release. And then summer came along and college had finished, and I hadn't finished the project. I was going to go down and just try and live as much as I could. And then I realized there was a loophole, and you can do another 6 months away from in your visa if you get an internship aligned with what you study. So I got an internship marketing Skyzoo's album. So like,
that's fucking insane.
That is dope.
Yeah, so he shouted out on Instagram looking for people to market my album, and I was like, dude, like, how do I apply? And he threw me onto the company, and I got the job. And so I got another 6 months. So I lived in Manhattan, marketing music for my friends.
Which album was it?
Music for My Friends.
Oh, okay.
Sick. 2015.
I was gonna say, The Salvation is
amazing.
Probably top 5 mixtapes. I don't know about top 5. I'd have to make a list. I'll get back to you. But it's fucking insane.
But yeah, man, all his shit's insane.
Yeah.
And his the in depth, like how deep he goes with his lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I was over there doing that and doing the music thing, hanging out, rubbing shoulders with all these people. And then I got to a point where, and this is going all the way full circle, was like realizing, first of all, that the industry is a very hard thing to crack. I was very lucky even to meet Illmind or to work with Sky, who's also still a friend of mine. But then to meet DJ Prince, who's Skyzoo's DJ, who's now directed films for West Side Gun, and does his own thing and has Mobile Kitchen, which is like a mini record label sort of creative space for people, and all these shakers and movers that are like real creative and insightful in the New York scene, which is like massively influential to the rest of the world. So it was crazy to be there, but the industry itself is so hard. Like, you got to pay a lot of money. Like, it's hard to live in a city when you don't know anyone, like all this sort of stuff. And then I just started realizing I was going through the motions of rapping for the sake of rapping. And I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I was just doing it. And I felt like I was chasing the affirmation from the bigger people rather than doing it for myself and creating my own hype. So I'd never released the EP. I just like didn't release the EP. And
do you still have it tucked away somewhere?
I've got it stashed, but I don't think I'd ever release it. I put it up on SoundCloud for maybe like a week and then pulled it off, and no one's heard of it again. So it's like, it's called Animal Kingdom.
So if anyone's got an illegal torrent, hit me up.
It's around, yeah. And then I flew to London and worked in marketing for 12 months and did absolutely no music.
Fuck.
So that, going back to the thing, because I was like, I don't know what I want to be. And I need to find my voice. And it was a weird time where I was like, okay, well, I want to, and I studied heaps of poetry and philosophy at college, and all of a sudden my perspective had changed, and I felt like I wasn't embodying emotion in my music enough for people on the other side to comprehend it. And that it doesn't matter about the lyrics, it matters about the feeling.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's an outlook not enough people have. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but, you know, there's so much music out there that doesn't necessarily feel like it has that sort of emotion. It's music that's being manufactured by a company or a corporation or something. But it's sort of cool that, you know...
Well, that's how I felt.
Took a step back from it all.
And that's why I had to take the step back, was completely for that reason. And that's not having a diss at anyone. Yeah. Like, I was smashing Drake's album over there. Like, if you're listening, It's Too Late or whatever. Like, dropped when I was in New York. Man, that was a college vibe. Like,
don't get me wrong. Like there's people who can do it and be, you know, they do it well. Yeah. And not to say that it's not emotional, but it's, you know... There's less layers to it. I don't know how to put it into words.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. And maybe that's our perspective of it or perception of how we hear it. But I certainly felt that way, and not necessarily on any artists, but just for myself, I was just putting lyrics to page and then to a beat, and there was no character. There was no identity behind that. You couldn't hear it and go, that's Knoe. Like, I know that that's him because that's how he feels and that's what he's saying. Yeah. And so I took the time off, and that's why I've disappeared for so long. And Reasons was 5 years after Lemonade, and I haven't released anything in between.
Fuck, man, that is a journey that I just wish I was on right now.
And the fact that it all started from you saying that Perth didn't get a Skyzoo show and making that happen is just cool within itself, and that he, you know, obviously respected and appreciated that, and then getting to...
Blessed, man. Like, blessed that he wanted to come to Perth. Man, it all comes down to, like, it was when the internet was just popping and, like, you could still hit up rappers on Twitter.
Yeah.
And that was all it was. And I just took a crack. Just lucky and blessed enough that Skyzoo is an amazing dude that believes in the music. Not my music, but in hip-hop. Yeah. And is a very, very big stronghold on the industry, whether we... know about it or not, like what he does in his own time and how he works with musicians and brings the sound up is crazy. Like, and I was blessed to be a part of that in some way, which is amazing.
Fuck, man.
Did you meet Wretch through the same stint in New York, or?
Yeah, me and Wretch didn't actually meet because he, but I got the verse. So the guy that I was working with on Animal Kingdom was Skyzoo's engineer at the time. And Focus, shout out Focus, and he had all the connects. Like, I don't know how he had them, but he had them. And my dream was like, I want Rock Marciano on a track.
Oh, fuck yeah, boy.
I still want Rock Marciano on a track. If you ever see this, Rock, I need you on a track.
I can almost guarantee you he won't. But we'll try. We'll make this a clip and we'll message it to him on Instagram.
Mate, do it.
People. See what happens.
No, that was my dream. And like Action Bronson and like, all these people. And Wretch had just dropped Polo Sporting Goods.
Yeah, that's
and he was on Action Bronson's mixtapes. And I was like, this dude goes hard. And I'm not one of those guys to ever jump on bandwagons to like get features for the sake of getting features. It was always people that I literally have played non-stop for years. Yeah. And Wretch with Polo Sporting Goods was just like on repeat for me. And it was like, I just want to put that notch on my belt that I've worked with this guy that is dropped some insane shit.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how it came about, but yeah, we ended up reaching out to management and, he ended up wanting to work on the track, but then he went to jail.
Oh, real?
So yeah, for his own reasons and whatever, and so we didn't have that verse for a very long time. And then that verse was actually on Animal Kingdom, because it's on Reasons. It was on Animal Kingdom on an Illmind beat. And we remixed the beat because I've had the verse that long, since 2016, 2015.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, but we were meant to meet. I would have loved to have met him, and he did come to New York, and but communication was hard. He was in and out of jail and also blowing up at the same time, and that all sort of stuff affected me as well. I was like, man, I really want to meet these people, and I felt bad that I had people on my projects who I admire completely, but I felt bad that I hadn't always met them. Like, I felt bad I hadn't met Wretch.
Yeah.
I really wanted to, and I didn't, and that sort of made me take a step back as well and go, well, I want to rap for myself, not rap to have other people on my shit.
Yeah.
It's all complicated, but
I like what you're saying about trying to, embody yourself in your own music and how you feel, and not just, it goes back to not just making the music for this, making music for the sake of making music, to make music that actually, like you said, people hear it and go, oh, that's Knoe, I know that because it's that sound that he creates. I feel like for myself, for me to get, like, it's so hard to sort of explain, but I feel like to get the sound that I want to make, it's like I've got to take a massive step into, like, out of my comfort zone. But I know that I need to do that to get where I want to be, if that makes sense. And I feel like the only way I can almost make that happen is if I'm in a studio and just let go. Like, just fucking experiment with everything, because...
Come to mind, man. We'll do it.
Oh,
we'll
fuck.
push you out of your boundaries.
Fucking oath, man. I listen to
Skyzoo,
that much...
Yeah, you guys can come around. We'll hang out and make some shit.
Fucking oath. I listen to that much music from all different kinds of genres. It's like, I feel like I'm almost limiting myself by only sticking
I feel the same
to
now.
hip-hop.
I feel the
Like,
same now, dude.
I want
Totally.
live instruments. I want singing. I want fucking everything.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like until I get to that point and actually start doing it, and like I said, get out of my comfort zone and experiment and shit, I feel like that is the point that I need to get to.
Totally, man.
For myself. To
Man,
make music that I'm completely happy and content with.
It's a good feeling to have, though, because it means that you're wanting to push past what you're already in.
Yeah.
You can be comfortable and you can stay there for the rest of your life, making mixtapes, albums, whatever, and it always just be the same. And with Knoe, like, not dissing anyone, like Pusha T, very much consistent with his music. He's one of my favourite rappers.
Yeah.
But he knows his lane. He doesn't push out of it because I think he's a smart man and he knows he's marketing to the exact people that listen to his music.
Yeah.
But he hasn't pushed out of his lane to diversify at all. Maybe on some, like, club shit in Ibiza, as he always claims he's done, which is, and, like, again, he's one of my favourite rappers, so I'm not dissing him, but he's a prime example of someone who stayed in his comfort zone or comfort sound for the people that were consuming him. Is probably the better way of putting it, because he could push himself, but he decided to stay there.
When if he did, he might risk losing that consumer group and taking a hit from a business perspective.
Exactly. But us, we don't have a business. And that's what I was about to say, is like, we're not the president of good music, and we don't have, well, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a fucking comfortable stream of money coming in from music. I fund my own music. And that means that I can take risks and I can feel out of my comfort zone. And I feel like that feeling now, like, it's scary. I'm feeling it again now, at the moment. And I'm like, damn, I need to do something. And it's hard to do something different if you've already heard it. And hip hop is very much in this sort of cycle of music, and you can see it's coming back to the old school sample with loops. And it sounds new, but it's not new. It's the same as what we've had before. There's some rappers doing it that are crazy with their flow, but the concept and the embodiment of the emotion and all that stuff is still in the same pocket of what it is, which is hip hop. That's not a good or bad thing. It just is what it is. But if you're feeling that way of pushing out, it's like, you have the potential to push yourself and your music into a genre or into a space that you may not have experienced before. Just sick.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't want to. I just don't want to limit myself. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like as an artist, no one should limit themselves.
No.
And
which is a hard thing to come to. It's very cool though.
I just feel like for example, now with this whole, drill, grime sort of scene that's going on, and don't get me wrong, it's massive, and there are definitely artists that are doing it that are standing out above the rest. But then there are also artists that have gone, grime is the thing that everyone's doing, therefore I'm going to completely change everything I've done
to do grime.
And it's like, yeah, it might work. You know, it might work. You might make some money off it. You might get some hits. You might, you know, in that period of time, you could blow up and be one of the biggest names. But as soon as that, like you said, as soon as it does a full circle and comes back to a different style of hip hop that is now the big thing, what are you doing then? You know what I mean? What, are you just going to completely change everything you've just stood, like you've made a name for, to go and do something completely different, which is where I feel like I want, like you were saying, I want to get my sound and stick with it. Yeah, well, not stick with it, but you know, have my own.
Make yourself.
Have my own experimental sort of music, and if it gains followers, it gains followers. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least it's what I want to make, and I'm happy with what I'm. You know, what
I totally
making.
agree with that, man.
Yeah.
Like on that point, artists, from my perspective, I would make music I'm interested in. I've made a conscious effort to not try and reproduce directly what I am influenced in. And again, try and embody your own self within your music, your own experience within the music. But a lot of kids, or a lot of rappers are kids, and a lot of them are young. And that's not dissing. It's just my sort of analysis of the industry. Yeah. They're young. They love what they love. They're passionate about it. They create that music. It pops off because it does go hard. And they haven't really thought about what's next. They haven't thought about that. And I don't think it's good to think about what's next, because it might scare you from doing something now. And I find myself doing that at a time. There's a lot of me that's like, oh man, like I could have jumped on some trap shit and really popped off. But then I limited myself from doing that, from deciding not to. So it's my own doing. And I think all I believe in is that artists should have the skills, the basic skills to diversify. If they don't want to diversify and that genre stays there, that's amazing, and you can stay in your lane like Pusha T. But if you are looking to push the boundaries of your music and you really believe in the growth of a sound, then it's about practicing things you haven't practiced before. And that's going back to pushing the limits of your sound. And I think you're in the same boat as me. Like, I'm trying to do that now. I'm like, what's next for me? This is when you get to a point where it's like, I'm just writing the same shit on a beat. It's time to change it up. Is what my theory on it is. But some people are scared of, again, losing audience. I don't know if many people are thinking about trends when they drop. I think it's subconscious. Like it is a trend, so you rap to what is trending. I'd like to think we're all a little bit more pure to our own music. At a smaller level.
I think with hip hop, like I don't know if Australia's the same, but you see examples in American music with hip hop artists where they'll openly state that they don't, like, music's never been their passion. And I feel like hip hop is the only genre of music that you could get away with that. And, you know, you don't hear even the biggest pop artists going, regardless of what you think of their music, you know, Katy Perry sings because she is good at singing and loves it. You know, if Katy Perry came out and said, I don't give a fuck about singing, I'll do it because I'm rich, you'd be like...
It's actually such a good way of putting it.
I don't know.
It's funny you mentioned Katy Perry, right? Because she's actually released a new song, which is what I want to
review. Which is called I Don't Give a Fuck About Music.
No, she's released a new track, and it shocked me. I was expecting, you know, California Girls, I Kissed a Girl, all that sort of bullshit. But this song that she's released, I almost was like taken back and actually thought, fuck, I really hope that she's written this herself. But I mean,
it's a DJ Premier beat.
She's
going back.
It's like an
He produces a lot of pop, actually.
It's like it is a very meaningful song, and I heard it and I was like, fuck, this is what I want to hear from an artist with that fucking audience and popularity of someone that she has, rather than just putting out silly pop songs for
jingles.
Jingles.
Man, it's funny going full circle on that. Like the engineer that I'm working with now, Cameron Murphy. He like does all my mixing and stuff. He's in like a I don't know what the genre, but he's in a rock band. I call it like pop rock, but it's not pop rock. He would probably shoot me if he sees this. But they're all his band and his mates. They're all from like the hardcore scene, so they've grown up in like living and breathing the fucking roots of rock music and punk scene and stuff. But now, like, we joke about it in the studio. We're like, man, we just got to hit those commercial checkpoints. Like, the commercial checkpoints need to be hit to make your music viable to live off. And if you want to live your passion every day, sometimes you have to hit a few checkpoints. And, I mean, when we say it, we're like, you know, reverse reverbs and delay, like, you know, reverse reverbs into hooks and, like, all that. So it's just making it sound polished. But Katy Perry and the rest of those pop stars just hitting those commercial checkpoints, man. Like, they know how to write music, whether it's her or not. Whoever's behind the boards is writing that music. Yeah. It's catchy. Yeah. I'm not saying I love it, but I've now sort of my perception's changed a bit on like trends and all that stuff. And it's like, man, they're getting it. They're getting the money. They're getting the music right. Like, people are listening to it. People aren't getting paid to listen to it. They're listening to it because they like it.
Ed Sheeran is a perfect example.
Totally.
Like, I heard and I sort of discovered Ed Sheeran years and years ago when he was doing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with SBTV. It's just like a YouTube channel from the UK, and they just started off doing like street freestyles. 64 bars or whatever it is. And Ed Sheeran was obviously in that scene and, you know, knew people and had contacts and stuff. And he was good friends with Devlin, which is like a UK artist. And Devlin had an F64, which is like one of the, you know, the, whatever you call it, like the segments of this show.
Yeah.
And Ed Sheeran is in there. And he's singing and he's doing like some freestyle bars and stuff. Probably it would have been maybe 18 and like young. You can tell he's new to the scene, but he had something about him. He'd have his guitar and he'd be rapping along playing the guitar. Then it went to like he had his own F64 and he's done I can't remember what the song is now. You Need Me, I Don't Need You or something. And he's got his loop pedal, which is obviously what he's notorious for now. And he's got his loop pedal and he's doing it all from like, you know, all from the get-go. And fucking does this video, blows up. I think he might have just started off doing features and then he had like A-Team, which was obviously a massive song. Gets recognised for his actual songwriting. Starts writing songs for other people. And then obviously somewhere down the line, he's gone, all right, this is how I need to write a pop song.
Yep.
Did it well, and now he's arguably the biggest artist going. You know what I mean? He's written songs for Justin Bieber. He's got feature tracks with fucking every artist you can think of. Yeah. And he's a prime example of just knowing how to hit those checkpoints, like you were saying. And it's just it's crazy. Some people just have it. Like you said with Katy Perry, she might not be writing the music. There'll be people behind the scenes writing the music, and it always makes me think as well, like, how do they? I just don't understand how you get into that.
Oh man, that's been one of my dreams was to like make money off writing. Songs.
How can you write? Say for example, Eminem. You know, he's probably got tracks out there that are ghostwritten, or he's got numerous writers behind the scenes. How do you? The person who's writing it, it's like me sitting here now and just going, there's no way I'm going to be able to rap this. But I'll throw a shitload of syllables in there, give it to Eminem, and he'll go, yeah, I can do this.
Do you think Eminem has ghost
Eminem's
writers?
the last person to have...
I was in this could be blasphemy. You could...
No, because he apparently...
I reckon
when he first had Kendrick, pardon me, Corona, come in the studio with him, he wasn't allowed to bring anyone else with him, and he had to prove that he wrote his bars then and there, because there's no ghostwriters if you're working with Eminem.
I think if there's one person, and I'd have no idea. I get where you're coming from.
I'm going to retract everything I said.
No,
I'm
don't
deleting
retract
this
it.
from the fucking episode.
I wouldn't say it's out of the question that maybe somewhere down the line someone's written a hook for him. Or giving him a suggestion.
Let me reword it. So, I mean... I guess it's more so like editors than anything. Oh, I don't know now.
Man, put it this way.
Eminem was a bad example.
No, put it this way. Kendrick, now I'm rapping with a ghostwriter. What the fuck happened? That's a line out of King Kunta.
Yeah.
Like, he brought it to the forefront. Yeah, so like...
Yeah, no shit.
And
it's like, I don't know if he got done for it.
Yeah, done or called out by Meek Mill.
Yeah.
And again, this goes back to the ego thing in hip-hop.
Yeah.
Now, every other industry technically has ghostwriters. Because if you're in a band, just say we're in a 3-piece band and I'm writing the lyrics and you guys give me suggestions, am I just not going to use your suggestions because I'm the writer of the lyrics?
Yeah,
no,
very true.
Like that we're in a group together in the studio.
And you would be classed as a writer if you're writing the lyrics and I'm coming up with the riffs.
Then you're a writer as well. Yeah. So we're all creating. Okay, so maybe, So same with like Yo-Yo Lou and Ghost. Like, now that's different because they're producing and I'm selecting the beats. So I'd call myself like a selector or an executive producer or whatever. Like you pick. I've got last decision on the sound.
Yeah.
But they've still written the beat. Like they've still written it. I haven't written that.
Yeah.
So if you look at it like that, every rapper has some sort of other writer, right?
Yeah.
But then if I'm in the studio and I haven't done this yet, but I'm very much open to it, is working with other people as a group, like so I work with a chick called Paloma.
Yeah.
She's absolutely amazing. She's such a good writer. And we want to work together more and create projects and push the boundaries. But I want her to push the boundaries for me as well.
Yeah.
Like I wrote the lyrics for the song Reasons that she sung, and it's only a little hook. I wrote it and she sung it. Does she feel bad that I wrote it? No. It goes the other way. Like she might come up with something that I could sing. I'm not going to not sing it because she wrote it.
Yeah.
But in hip hop, there seems to be this mentality, whether for good or for bad, however you sit on the fence, but like Meek Mill called out Drake for having ghostwriters. Let's be honest, man. He's a fucking multi-million-dollar rapper with a team of people in a studio. If someone's like, yo, Drake, you should put this in your line, do you think he's going to say no? Like, of course he has people that help him create music.
Yeah.
I guess like ghostwriting then is this thing where people do get paid to write a verse and you pick certain parts out of the verse to create a whole verse. Now that would be... I think that's what Meek's talking about, is maybe Drake was doing that. I can't speak on that, but if you're in the studio together and someone's writing with you to help you, I think that's a band. It's just he's paying all of those people to be there.
Yeah,
they're part of his group to present Drake as a artist sort of thing.
Yeah.
And not being open to that collaboration as well, you risk the potential that some great music never gets made just because someone didn't come in and go, let me slap this hook on there or jam a bass line or something.
And maybe the music creation side on like the bass and instrumentation is like you have in-house musicians that will come in and are paid for their time or whatever. They might not get credit, but they get paid.
Yeah.
But then even if you were getting people, like I would never do it, like, but reach out to other writers externally and they come in with all the written music, like lyric wise, and you piece together the best lyrics to make a good song. For me, like I wouldn't want to do that. But Drake is number one, has been like almost number one for the last 10 years because he does do that.
Yeah.
And take the financial stuff out of it. He's making money, but number one is also how many plays he's getting. So people are loving the music. So he's not only being fed, he's feeding the people that gave him the lyrics, and he's making music that he may not have been able to create on his own. Yeah. We may not even know what Drake was if Drake didn't get people to help him make Drake, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, very true.
It's like Still DRE being like one of the most popular singles off that album. Jay-Z wrote Snoop Dogg's verse.
Yeah.
If Snoop had gone, fuck that, I'm not with that, you know, his verse could have still been good, or he may not have had a verse on there.
Yeah, exactly.
But the song wouldn't be the classic it is today, potentially.
Also, Dre doesn't write his own raps.
Yeah.
So, like, how come no one's dissing Dre? You know what I mean? Like, and I know Dre's an absolute king, but
I think it's an expectation
that's what
that
it is.
Producers aren't meant to be able to rap. That's why I like fuck with Large Professor and people like that who are producing their own beats and can rhyme.
The Alchemist used to rap.
What's that?
Alchemist.
Yeah,
Alchemist. He used to rap.
Yeah.
He still rhymes every now and then.
Yeah, he's
Best producer, rapper, hands down. Don't know if you're familiar with him.
Here we go.
Leaf Dog.
From UK.
Yeah.
I'd say
Man.
Jest, because Jest was
Yes.
producing.
Does he produce?
Yeah,
he
bro.
produced a lot of his
Produces
early
all
shit.
of his shit.
Real? Holy
Yeah,
shit!
bro.
I did not actually know that, and I fuck with Jess big time.
I think Sonny Jim got into the producing side of things a fair bit in his new shit. Man, UK seems to get away with it. They do it a lot.
Dirty
Yeah.
Dark's another one who's
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah, very true.
insane.
That whole High Focus is just nuts. But
Bro, in Australia, Taunts produced all his
Yeah.
early shit, rapped on it.
yeah,
There's people that do it and are insane.
Mm.
Rock Marciano produces his own shit. I think he
Yeah.
gets like guidance from Q-Tip, but he makes all his own beats
yeah.
and raps on them.
J Cole's huge for it.
There you go. There's heaps.
Yeah, yeah. There is actually fucking a
Yes.
lot.
J. Cole's huge. How
Yeah.
did we go past that?
Yeah. Fucking. There's one verse though. Just quickly back to this ghostwriting thing that I've always wondered who wrote it,
One? Oh yeah.
and
Here we
it's Kanye, Kendrick Lamar, "No More Parties in LA."
Oh,
That's the track,
go.
eh?
Great song.
Yeah.
Here's a chain.
Kanye's verse in that, to me personally, sounds way too Kendrickified to be a Kanye verse.
Interesting.
I feel like you'd have to listen to it, but there's just something about it, his flow. It's his flow and his pauses and like how he emphasizes certain things and drags out certain words and just shit like that, that it's almost, if you think it's Kendrick and you listen to it as Kendrick, it is a Kendrick verse.
Wow.
I think that's like it. I see exactly what you're saying, and it's a good point. But it also could be because they're both
Working
such
together.
high tier musicians that
he can do it.
they can write their shit to work with and bounce off the other person.
Yeah, yeah, very
I was
true,
about to
very
say
true.
the same thing because
Yeah.
I've never thought it wasn't Kanye
Yeah.
because
yeah.
of the way he trips as well. It's not a perfect verse.
Yeah, yeah.
Kendrick
yeah,
doesn't slip up at all.
Yeah.
But then in saying that, now that you've said
But
it,
that's what makes me think why he trips.
because
like-
it's because he's written and he's trying to force it in the bars,
yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
So it could be that
I
it was
think
written.
you'd have to listen
He
to it.
also
You'd have to
does
listen to it. Go back.
mention a bit of personal shit in the verse as well,
Mm,
though.
yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon
His cousin
Kanye wrote
stealing
that.
the laptop and all that shit, and
I reckon
Yeah,
Kanye
that's
wrote
true.
that.
Eh?
crashing on.
Yeah, his cousin stole his laptop. That's the most bullshit thing ever as well.
That verse is one of my favorite Kanye
Yeah,
verses.
that and
Goes so
fucking
hard.
his gorgeous verse is.
For me,
Out of
He's
this
a
world.
don.
for
man.
me, Kanye, fucking Diamonds of Sierra Leone. Is that right? No. What's the fucking song called? It is Diamonds of Sierra Leone, isn't it?
I don't know. I can't. The Diamonds Are
Yeah.
Forever song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it's
I feel
called.
like it is Diamonds of
Yeah.
Sierra Leone.
Pretty sure.
And then there's,
Here we are, we
there's
were
the
playing
remix.
flames.
Yeah, there's a remix with Jay-Z. Then there's the original.
Robin, can you just Google that?
Oh, yeah,
it's
that
got it.
fucking no shit. But the original to that, I think it's the second verse comes in, and it's probably it's one of my favorite Kanye verses for sure.
Kanye is still. No, even in the record he did, the religious record he dropped. What's it called?
Jesus. Fuck, what is it called? Jesus is God? No. Jesus is
God.
King. Jesus is King.
Jesus is King.
Yeah.
I was about to say I'll Google it. But even that record, like, man, the beats and the skill on it is insane.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a good record.
Well, like what you said, like I can definitely listen to it, and I have listened to it, and I don't mind it. But like what you said, when it came out, if anything, it was just to sort of solidify that
Jesus.
Kanye is. Was it? Yeah,
it is
yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
Solidify that Kanye is the, if not the, but one of the best producers of all time.
Well,
Yeah.
also,
Just the
he's-
production in it and everything, like just all the, the orchestra and everything that's included in that gospel sort of vibe that he brings into it. It's just
His
nuts.
thing's always been as well as doing shit that people tell him that he can't do. So him pushing genres, regardless of what you think of it, I'm not a fan of all of his newer shit. Some of it I find it a bit hard to digest,
Yeah.
but you can understand exactly why he's doing it. And it's that same thing, I suppose he's taken the risk that, he's putting experimental things out there. He
Yeah.
could, that's how he changed pretty much the entire scape of hip hop with the auto tune and that fucking
Heartbreaking 808s.
yeah, that whole album.
Funny you say that. I mean, I completely agree. Completely. That he's like, I think Jay-Z says it in an interview, like, someone's going to take the arrows.
Yeah.
He's always at the forefront of the sound.
Yeah.
Did he do auto-tune first? Probably not.
No, not by any means.
As in, like, you've got... Who came out in the 2000s?
T-Pain.
T-Pain.
Yeah.
Who's an insane singer.
I was gonna say, I always thought he was
didn't
auto-tuned.
use auto-tune on his first song. That
I'm in love with
I think it was "I'm in Love with a Stripper" or "Let Me Buy You a Drink." One of those songs.
Yeah.
But he came out saying it's fucked. People remember me for auto-tune when the first song I released, the biggest song I had, didn't use auto-tune.
Great campaign last year, because it was last year, the year before, when he came out and started singing off auto-tune and doing the tiny desks and all that.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
He has his own little Red Bull fucking studio sessions on YouTube.
Yeah,
and shit.
yeah. He came out and sort of proved that he could sing without it. I think it was to get us re-engaging with him and be like, he's a talented artist.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot out there. There are. So it's like, but Kanye used what I was going back to the auto-tune thing and like pushing the boundaries. He wasn't the first to use auto-tune in sort of like a hip-hop genre, but I do think he was the first to use voices, whether it was auto-tune or not, in it as more of an instrument and a focus point.
Yeah.
That sometimes his beats are literally just sampled vocals.
Yeah.
They're not even drums on them.
He sort of took a bit of, like, obviously a lot of inspiration from your Dillas and Q-Tips and things like that, but, you know, it took Timbaland's production level up a whole notch. You know, every Timbaland beat you hear him making noises on it.
Yeah.
It's the instrumentation.
Yeah.
And Kanye took that to a whole nother level.
Yeah, yeah. I forget that Timbaland's very much a vocal guy as well. Like, he beatboxes to lay down his beats.
A lot of his
something.
drums and shit.
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
Do you fuck with Russ?
Rusk?
Russ.
Never heard of him.
Okay. No, I thought.
Are we over?
No, I thought you would have heard of him because he is
podcast
quite. No, I thought you would have heard of him. He is quite.
RUS.
Yeah, but he's not like...
RUSS.
He's sort of mainstream in the US, I feel, at the moment, but I don't think he's mainstream like everywhere else.
Oh, he's big in Middle East. Like, surprisingly, he always puts up shit of like his like arena shows and shit in like Dubai and just other places in the Middle East, and like sells out fucking 40,000 people.
Shit.
But
Yeah.
I've never heard of him. To be honest though, man, I am not a I don't listen. I have a very thin scope of like hip hop music that I listen to.
No, but he's just like he also produces his own stuff, but that's kind of how he gained the reputation that he's sort of got now. Was this whole, I write, mix, master, record, fucking do everything myself. Like, I'm not like all these other people who pay people to do it. I do it all myself in my room or whatever the fuck he does.
That's crazy.
But he is actually, like, I think he is very talented, and it's showing from, you know, the reach that he's getting.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's selling out fucking arena shows all over the world. But there's I've found from talking to people about him, there's like, you either love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
And I can't quite get my head around why.
A lot of that...
It's like, because he's so arrogant in the fact that he does everything himself, and he kind of thinks that he's better than everyone else for doing so. There's so many people that are just like, no, fuck Russ.
He created that divide for himself because he came out and it went viral of him a few years ago, basically saying, you know, all these rappers on lean and that, they're fuckheads, you know. What are you doing?
Yeah. And he released
sort of
merch
calling
saying
them
like
out
fuck
a
lean
bit.
and all
I'm
this
going to
shit.
Google him.
Yeah, and then he sort of created that divide himself because people who hadn't even heard of his music, who were fans of the artists that he insulted, were going fuck Russ. And artists like Lil Pump and shit, I think it was, or I don't know, I don't listen to it, but they were getting people to chant fuck Russ at their shows.
Yeah.
Wow.
How many of these people had actually heard of him? Probably fucking none. They just knew that he took shots at their favourite artist.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny though, because that's just more marketing, word of mouth. If someone's yelling fuck Russ, like, bad publicity is still good publicity.
Everyone's going, who's Russ? Google him.
He didn't do a great deal for his music to start with, but he kept producing all this shit, and now, like, I'm pretty sure he's got plenty of albums that have gone platinum and stuff.
Oh, fuck
and
yeah.
He's
That's what I mean.
sort of-
Like,
he's low-key reached the top tier of hip-hop, and no one mentions him. Again, I'm not like that. I don't really listen to his shit.
Never heard of him
But-
before. I just Googled him and checked. I was like, man, I've never actually seen his Spotify before.
He's almost in that same bracket as like your Coles and Kendricks and that. I don't think he gets played on the radio as much, but he's sort of just quietly done it all himself.
That's crazy, man. That's really cool and very impressive. Like, very impressive, especially in this day and age.
He does have a habit of letting everyone know about it.
Yeah,
and I think that's
I think that's the thing that sort of gets. Yeah, that makes people sort of, you know
about it. Is he that like?
Yeah, he's kind of egotistic. Yeah,
he makes a point of saying, you know, people think I'm an asshole, but I'm putting it out there because, you know, if you're gonna give Beyonce a Grammy and she's got fucking 12 writers and 30 musicians and that, I'm putting this out here. You know, acknowledge what I'm doing and how skilled I am as an artist and stuff. And I think he's a bit bitter because he never got mainstream success or something.
I was about to say that, like, it feels as though that's the wrong energy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, man, Beyonce's still an amazing singer and has written some of her shit and obviously has impacted and I know you only used her as an example, but
there's
but,
Beyonce songs I'll fuck with.
No, well, I completely fuck with Beyonce.
I'd fuck Beyonce.
Oh my god. but the you've made me lose track now. No, so she deserves a Grammy. Like, same with whoever else wins Grammys. Like, I know, like, look, award-winning stuff and the award-winning process, I think, is a crock of shit. To be perfectly honest. I think that they deserve it, they win it, but there's also politics in that we're probably not aware of. But then to voice that as an artist does seem a little bit bitter and like not. It's the wrong vibes to be pushing out. Like, he's already done so much for himself. Why does he need to claim he's done so much for himself? Why can't he just enjoy the fruits of his labor and continue to grow his community of listeners and
it's
grow
like he's searching for validation that
exactly
you don't need.
exactly
Like,
and that is becoming a negative impact almost in this not that I know of him, but it feels like that would be a negative impact.
100% spot on. Like that, the first, I don't want to say, I don't know enough about Russ from his music. I just know from viral videos and podcasts and shit like that, you know. Listen to a fair bit of the Joe Budden podcast as well.
Yeah.
So they always talk about
there's another bitter guy, to be honest.
Yeah. Fuck.
100%.
The most bitter.
If we're going to go bitter, like, he is the worst, bro.
Man, he is salty.
Good rapper. Good rapper.
Very good rapper,
100%.
but fuck me.
But I think Russ only sort of really started to garner that success in the last couple of years when he sort of distanced, like after he got away from that being the guy who said fuck lean. I think some rapper had just died from a Xanny overdose or something as well, and he was like, maybe said something that was out of line, or I'm not entirely sure.
To be fair,
but
fucking J. Cole sort of says fuck lean.
Yeah.
Sort
I
of,
was gonna say,
in a way. Like, there's other people that are doing it.
In reality, it's a message that needs to be put across.
It does, yeah.
Because it's... with that, I mean, it's kind of died off now, and I'm hoping that that whole sort of drug fueled music industry that has been popping does kind of wake up and go, all right, maybe this isn't the music we want our fucking younger generations to be listening to, getting influenced by and stuff like that. Especially when you've got people like, you know, your Mac Millers, Lil Peep,
R.I.P.
Yeah, like there is a lot of huge artists that have, you know, I don't know, I want to say like succumb to it, but
substance abuse problems, but that haven't necessarily used that as subject matter for their music. Mac Miller wasn't necessarily, he may have talked about his struggles, but he never came out and was like, sip lean, do Xanny or anything.
Yeah.
He was just being honest about his emotions and that, but he never promoted the drugs, and a lot of the time I don't think he addressed it directly. It was always sort of subliminal through his music.
That's what I was about to say, is if we were to sit here and attack drug abuse in the music industry, which I completely agree is terrible.
Yeah.
But a lot of artists are trying to find themselves and that's maybe why they turn to art. And maybe they turn to other things like lean and fucking heroin and downers and uppers or whatever the fuck you want to use for escape from their own head, because they're not they might be depressed, they might be whatever. There seems to be a common sort of thread with musicians that, like I certainly suffer with depression, and I used to do drugs, don't much anymore, but there's certainly like a space there for most musicians have felt it at some point.
Yeah.
Look at Nirvana.
Yeah.
Korn's first album. I'm a bit of like I love Korn and Slipknot and shit from back in the day. So Korn's, and not many hip hoppers would like listen to this shit, but Korn's first album, like I'm pretty sure they were all on methamphetamines.
Yeah.
Like Slipknot's first album, same. And so to go outside of hip hop and look at it, there is so many people suffering in the music industry on a day to day. And it's sad to say that a lot of the music that comes out on those first albums or those projects where they are probably abusing the most are the best pieces of work because they're bearing a soul of emotion into the music. Yeah. But then going back to what you're saying is like hip hop, then they might be feeling the same pain. So for starters, like they're feeling the same pain, so there's an issue there, but they're rapping about taking it, which is the difference. Yeah. It's not like Korn's rapping about singing or yelling or playing music about taking methamphetamines. It just affected the way they were presented.
And if they did talk about it, they might have been addressing the emotional or physical or mental
impact or issues
related to it, as opposed to coming out
quite
there
subliminal
and saying, you know, I'm not going to address my issues as such, and I'm just going to tell you what I do and sort of, I don't know. There are people who promote it, like 100%, wing use and all that shit.
I think that is the issue. It's when you got someone like Lil Xan coming out and just openly like making songs, just making songs that are massive about taking Xannies.
But that's a problem with the industry, because he didn't just become famous by himself. No doubt he would have blew up on SoundCloud or something. Yeah. But the only reason we know about him is because some industry head saw or heard his music and went, "This is what's going on at the moment. We can flip this into a profitable..."
It's sad, and he probably is going through issues in the first place. He's addicted to Xannies. Like a lot of my friends were addicted to Xannies for a long time, and like it doesn't end well. And like there's clearly a vice there. We've talked about vices. Like there's a vice there for escapism and stuff, and music is another form of escapism. So people then express themselves through the music about what they're experiencing. They're experiencing taking Xannies. They rap about taking Xannies. The other part of that is the people listening to it will take Xannies to be on the same level and copy the artist. Yeah. But what's that famous documentary about hip hop, crack rock? I don't know.
Fuck, I don't think I've seen it.
There's this one from, I think it's the 80s, early 90s. I'll Google it in a second. But it was about the cycle of hip hop and how like drug sellers would then rap about it, which would then influence the next generation of listeners to sell drugs. Yeah. And it was a Planet Rock, I think it was called.
Pusha T in a nutshell.
Essentially, yeah. And that's it. So again, I think it's a bigger issue where it goes into this philosophical
You've just got such a massive platform that everything you say gets taken... Like, everything you say can be taken in a different way, but like if you're rapping about doing shit, it's like, you know, if Kurt Cobain was singing about doing heroin in fucking almost every song he ever made, there could have been a spike in heroin use.
I mean, there's still a responsibility for the listener at the same time.
You know, you do need
But if they're kids, like, you know, it's hard to expect that.
I mean, smoking weed is a perfect example, and I'm like... The reason I started smoking weed is because I listen to music where, you know, not just hip hop, but your Bob Marleys and your fucking, you know, everything else. Yeah. And it's what they did. It's what they sang about. It's what they rapped about. So I went, you know what? Fuck it. I want to try and smoke weed. Yeah. Or, you know, I want to try weed.
It's a bigger thing than hip hop. It seems that there is expression of what people are doing comes into the music, but then like you can see the vicious cycle when it's aggressive or negatively impacting people's lives. But at the same time, like fuck, it's just a huge...
It's a cultural thing.
It's just a huge space of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Like, do you just not rap about your experiences or speak or sing or write about your experiences because they're bad?
Yeah.
That's whole Eminem's whole issue when he first came out.
You want to be true to yourself as well. If you're going through problems and you're trying to sugarcoat it to make it sound like you're not going through, you're not experiencing these issues, then it goes back to making music that you feel happy with in yourself. Because then, if you're just putting out shit that's not true to yourself, then you're not going to be any better. You're not going to be feeling any better. You're still dealing with your own, issues. So then it's like, well, it's hard, man.
Yeah,
it's a difficult sort of area to be in.
It is. I think a lot of artists would question themselves consciously about what they present.
Yeah,
I know I do.
Yeah,
and I know that people in the industries do. I'm sure you do.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
like that's like a, there's always going to be a questioning of what you show, and is it bad that these people that are influencing a bad drug bear all? I don't know. It's music.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it does show a negative impact on the listeners and the culture. Yeah. But then, I don't know, man. Like, if it wasn't ever created, we may not ever understand that this was actually an issue to begin with before the song was created or something. Do you know what I mean?
What's the 5 Pass bar about? Like, what are the Beatles without LSD or something like that? And it's like,
Yeah. What are the Eagles without Benny Cousins?
Would we have dope bar?
Yes.
Would we have your Mobb Deeps and Wu-Tangs and shit if they didn't sell drugs and talk about those things? Because that's the other part of it, is like, I don't really vibe with a lot of that sort of music, like the Zanny and Lean influenced and stuff. Not my thing. But then, I'm more than guilty of listening to like a lot of rap, like gangster stuff as well, where they're talking about shit I have no business of really listening to, but for some reason it just...
Exactly.
The musical aspect just ticks all the boxes.
Exactly.
It's not like I can relate to Ghostface Killer's life, but Supreme Clientele is one of the greatest albums of all time.
And that's exactly it. It's like, when is it... Like, when it leaves your soul and it leaves yourself and it becomes a piece of music, it's no longer yours anymore. You don't own it.
Yeah.
The world owns it. The listener owns it. And how they perceive it is up to them. And if we were to open the can of worms and be like, rapping about lean's bad, it's like, well then, fuck, I better stop rapping because I rap about drugs. Like, Dr. Dre better stop fucking rapping because he raps about weed.
Snoop Dogg wouldn't have a career. As you said, like, Wu-Tang, who is the most, like, ungangster in a way of, like, yes, you've got, like, Ghostface and Raekwon, and they're gangsters. It's more like they're like street
influence.
But the Kung Fu influence makes it sort of less gangster than a lot of other rappers, and yet you'd have to get rid of Wu-Tang because of Raekwon and Ghostface and their experience that they rap about, even if it was an experience from Jizza or RZA, who claim, if they may have been influenced by the street life, but they're probably not necessarily in it as much as Ghostface or Raekwon. But if they rap about it, then all of a sudden they're in the fucking shooting line of cancelling as well. Yeah. So it's this whole thing. It's like, like when do you draw the line? I think art is expression.
Yeah.
And it needs, like, if we were not allowed to express certain things, it wouldn't be art. Art has to be free reign of anything, and sometimes that's bad, but sometimes it's really good, and we get really good music out of it.
Oh, for sure.
And
man,
Kanye is like the
best
example
exactly
of that.
going full circle.
Yeah.
That's exactly, man. Kanye's doing shit we don't like, but we can't deny he's not an artist. Like, he's an artist.
And you can't deny that there's a whole group of other people that do fucking love it far more than they like the shit that we love.
Totally.
Just quickly on to Mac Miller. Are you familiar with the Swimming album?
Oh yeah.
Not so much his latest album, because I've not really listened to that, as much. But I personally, Swimming for me was like one of the best pieces of work that I've probably heard in the last 10 years. Like,
I voted it best album of the year. Like hip hop album of the year. Easily.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. I feel like he was somewhat robbed because who won the album of the year for the Grammy? Was it Lizzo?
Oh, I have no idea.
I feel like it was someone who I personally didn't think deserved it, but I want to say Lizzo. I could be incorrect, but I know that Mac Miller was in there as a nominee. And like, I don't know, man. Like this goes back to what you were saying about the politics and the whole award, like how they, generate, they generate who's going to win and like.
Well, and you wouldn't go off because, like, I know for a fact, like there was hip hop pages that had voted it their favourite album of the year. Yeah, so it's getting its sort of recognition and respect in the arena that it's due.
Yeah.
But maybe it was maybe it was his passing. Was he had he passed when the album was going up for
the
Grammy?
Album? Yeah. So the
I
album
don't know,
had
mate.
been out.
You never know. It could have been some sort of like we don't want to give him the accolade because it seems as though, as much as he deserves it, it seems as though it's his passing. Sadly, that he's influencing the decision, which shouldn't be a.
But again, that's the politics
of it and the decisions, but. Oh, then maybe we're just in a bubble of people that absolutely... Like, I think that album outside of hip-hop was absolutely amazing.
Oh, fuck yeah.
In hip-hop, it was the best album of the year. Like, hands down. Yeah. I mean, that and I don't know if Victory Lap came out the same year, but I'm a massive Nipsey Hussle fan. So those two... Because Nipsey completely shook up the world with that album, I feel. Yeah. It was gangster rap, but the way he presented it was... beautiful, and production wise was on another level. And those two albums, sadly, they've both passed. Both two of my favorite rappers, but they both deserved accolades.
Oh yeah, 100%. for sure, man.
I think Nipsey got his Grammy nomination. But didn't win it.
Yeah, it's fucking. Oh man, it sucks for like artists like that. There's so many groundbreaking artists. Obviously, Nipsey had been around for a while. Mac Miller had been around for a long time, but I just feel like there's been a lot of artists, especially in hip hop, that their passings have been like, what the fuck? Like Mac Miller, you wouldn't have expected it. Nipsey wouldn't have expected it, and then you got someone like a lot of people were sort of torn, but Triple X, Tentacion, massive influence. Changed the sort of game for the music he was releasing at the time. A lot of way bigger artists were taking influence from the music he was releasing. And, then he passes. Then you got someone like Lil Peep, which in that scene was massive. Definitely like with the whole emo rap sort of thing, bringing it back. And it's, it is now since became, a bigger sort of subgenre. But yeah, and it's like they pass away and it's like, fuck, like they were just getting started.
It's pretty sad. Hey?
Yeah.
It's very sad. Man, even the Nipsey thing, I mean...
Oh, that's depressing as fuck.
It was so sad, man. Someone that was so influential in the community. Someone who was really... Like, he wasn't pushing the boundaries in rap, but sonically he was pushing the boundaries. Some of those... The music itself as a LA gangster rap album for me felt as though it was really he was staying in his lane, but he was pushing himself out of boundaries. Like he was singing on stuff and doing some cool stuff like that. And what he was generating that into was income to then help the community that he was rapping about, which to me is beautiful. Like that's fucking
he was
insane.
On that. Like we used to listen to Nipsey when he first sort of came out, and then it had been a long time. A lot like Mac Miller as well.
Yeah,
was all over his first few mixtapes and everything, and then when he died, that was when I went and listened to Swimming.
Yeah,
and,
sadly as well.
It's sad as fuck.
Oh man, Mac Miller passing was insane.
That again, that probably put a lot of people onto that album who weren't necessarily going to give it a listen. Yeah. So as sad as it is, there's a little positive that came out of it.
Man, they say that about Nip as well, and I do believe in it, that sometimes the movers and shakers of a conscious change have to leave for that. In more Nipsey's, like Mac Miller, an amazing artist. I've followed him all the way. Like I think I've been madly influenced by him. but he was obviously quite obviously battling demons of his own, which is so sad. And I think what he's brought to the surface, and I don't know if it was suicide or not. I think it might have been a mistake or whatever.
Yeah.
But the taking of drugs and things seems like he was in a bad place, which then brings to the forefront the idea of like mental health and like, okay, well, these artists are suffering, but then Nip was sort of consciously making a huge change, and his passing brought to the surface violence and how that was represented in music and outside of music. And it's not something that we from Australia know anything about, so we can't speak on it, but it seems to me that like he made a huge difference in the community.
That's the point I was getting to, was he's, you know, regardless of whether you listen to his music or not, his passing leading up to all I would ever see for a long time as well was videos on social media of him pushing like conscious social messages. And, you know, he was sort of on that Jay-Z tip, like a mogul sort of, you know,
totally
trying to go up there with the P. Diddy's and the Jay-Z's and all that. But everything he ever spoke about was, you know, very positive.
Which is really weird for a gangster
aware.
rapper.
Yeah.
Well, you would think it would be weird, but then you see it and like, man, again, this goes back to what we were saying before. Like, the content you rap about doesn't necessarily mean you're in it, or if you're in it, doesn't mean you're necessarily rapping about it. And it's this chicken or egg, and you know, like, he may have still been in it. He clearly was to an extent, or was affected by it. His family was affected by it, whilst he was still, you know, making moves in the industry. But like, he was a positive human being that was completely separated consciously from that. And you see that a lot in the industry, especially in hip hop. You know, there's a lot of aggression in the music, but I guarantee, you know, you might meet some of these people in real life and they might be really nice people and very, very positive, forward-thinking people. But the music is about where they come from. And it's like same as us, like we rap about our experiences. And so, you know, that's why it's gangster, or that's why it's pop, or that's why it's, you know, funk or whatever. It's what we've been brought up with, I guess.
Fuck, man. I've just got to say I've loved this episode. Thanks for coming.
It's been a dope conversation.
Man, thank you for having me. It's been sick.
Fuck, mate. It's just like, just very rare. I'm not very rarely, but like, especially with us the last few weeks, it's just been like fucking shit talking, man. Just straight up shit talking. And especially with coronavirus going on as well, it's good to talk about shit that, you know, is been part of my life, like music and stuff, for fucking my whole life.
Bring it back to music and just have an in-depth conversation.
No, it's been good.
Fuck.
We wrapping up, are we, boys?
I was gonna say, well, it's up to you. I mean, we've hit fucking 222, and that's a sign. That's why I got it tattooed on my fucking leg, cunt.
What's 222?
Is that what the numbers are?
Yeah, 222. It's a message from your like spirit angels that you're moving like in the right path and you're making the right decisions and stuff like that. But I used to see it all the time. Like, it's that cliche thing of seeing it, you know, when you look at the clock or whatever. I used to see it all the time, and then it sort of went away, came back, and I was talking about it at uni with my group of friends. And I'd mentioned that like how I always used to see it, and weirdly enough, I don't know if it's because I was thinking about it a bit more, but weirdly enough, after that, for about a week or so, I seen it like, you know, 3 or 4 times. And I was talking to a friend of mine who worked at a tattoo parlour. And
coincidentally.
Yeah. And I was just, thinking of going to get a tattoo, and I looked into it, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Flatbush Zombies, but they have a song called 222, which is also rapping about it. And I know that I think Eric R. Kelly and maybe Juice, they have a tattoo, and it's like a triangle with the 222 in there. So I looked it up, and that was kind of like the symbol that represented it. So I ended up getting it tattooed on my leg.
So it's a symbol of change, or like that you're...
Yeah. It's just a symbol that you're kind of like you're moving in the right direction, you know what I mean? You're making the right sort of choices in life.
It's a symbol that the EP is going to be out in a month.
yeah,
Your EP?
basically. Yeah.
Nah, he's
EP?
Yeah. Well, joint anyway.
I was going to
He's
say, aren't you
all.
producing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's our
Trying
EP.
to.
It's our EP.
And mine's out in a month. No, soon.
We'll
a
race you.
A month-ish.
So if yours is out in 2 months, that's just too coincidental.
Yeah. But yeah, well, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah, thank you for
It's
having
been a
me.
pleasure.
I'm loving it. I want to come back.
Yeah,
I want to do
fuck
that red
it, for
wine
sure.
thing.
Yes,
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 lock
yes,
it
yes,
in.
100%. So this is the Red Wine Connoisseur Lounge. And but yeah, no, it's the Smokers Lounge. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Like I said, thanks for coming out.
No, thanks for having me.
And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.
Yeah.